Hey there, guys, and welcome back to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 158. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and more. Today, we're talking about Captain America Brave New World, Daredevil Born Again, Andor Season 2, Warner Brothers Games, Pokémon Presents, Lost Records Bloom and Rage, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man,
Yes.
and more. But as usual, we will begin with our recent activities, starting with Captain America Brave New World, because we're a little late on that, but hey, let's just talk about it. Full spoilers, by the way, if you were still dodging that kind of thing. But yeah, this is the newest MCU movie. It is the first grounded one since Black Widow. I have been saying that to a lot of my friends and coworkers whenever I talk about this movie. But yes, it has been a very long time since we've had a MCU movie that didn't involve multiverse, space nonsense, anything like that. So, to get a movie like this, especially one that was so controversial upon release, where it had a very bad Rotten Tomatoes score, and people were just already shitting on the movie. And for what it is, honestly, I think that it's fine. It's not anything new or groundbreaking for the MCU, which I think is totally okay. I think a lot of people came into this movie expecting something super grandiose, and the movie obviously didn't give them that. It was just coming back to the roots of Marvel and sort of doing a spy espionage, despite it being, sort of like a ripoff of Winter Soldier, and it having a lot of problems with the surrounding cast and the villains being, Incredible Hulk characters and all this other stuff.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I think that it was a fine movie. I think if I were to rewatch it, I would still have a great and fun time with it. I didn't think it was bad leaving the theater, but I do think that post-credit scene was pretty like, what the hell is going on here,
Yeah, like I feel the exact same way you feel. Like I thought the movie was like fine. Like I had a good time watching it. I watched with my brother, and we both went in with really low expectations. He was just like, whatever, like I guess. And I was like, I'll keep an open mind. But when we left, we were like, yeah, it was enjoyable. We enjoyed it. We didn't hate it or whatever. It was a fun time. Like you said, like I just feel like a lot of the stuff, and we're probably gonna talk about it more. Like I feel like a lot of that stuff was like revealed during the trailers and stuff. Like obviously they want people to watch it, and the best way to get people to watch is like, oh, Harrison Ford turns into like Red Hulk and stuff. But I feel like if they didn't show that, obviously it was still very obvious something was gonna happen, like in the first like few minutes of the movie or whatever. But at least it would have been more of a surprise till like the very end of the movie. But instead we already knew that was gonna happen, so there was like no like stakes in that happening.
Yeah.
And like you said too, it was like there was just a lot of Hulk stuff. Like it was just like a lot of Hulk stuff. Like it was like barely like a Captain America movie at some points, where I feel like they were just focusing too much on that. Which is fine. I know they have this weird thing where they can't make like Hulk movies or some shit.
Yeah.
So they keep putting all that Hulk stuff in other people's movies. Like Ragnarok had a lot of like Thor stuff. Had a lot of Hulk stuff, and She-Hulk had her own stuff with Abomination or whatever. Like you just have to find other ways to put a Hulk storylines without Hulk. So
Yeah.
but yeah, overall, I thought the movie was like okay. Like it was a fine enough time. Like I know it's probably not gonna be as like offensively bad as like Ant-Man to some people, or like Thor. I don't remember what it was called, Love and Thunder, right? So
Yeah.
because I know people really hated those movies. Like even though I didn't really hate those movies as much as everyone else, like they were just whatever. This movie kind of like it's slightly better than whatever. So
yeah, because like I feel like with Love and Thunder, and particularly for me personally, like going into it, it's obviously like a sequel to Ragnarok, and that is still the best Thor movie. So trying to follow up on that, it's like, okay, how are we going to pull it off? And it just felt like that there was a little bit too many jokes and a little bit too much going on there. But going back to Brave New World, I feel like with the story that they had, I thought it fit Sam Wilson's Captain America, but at the same time, it sort of does feel like a disservice to this new Captain America for his first movie to be like, hey, we're going to throw you into this story that is, very mysterious sort of spy espionage, but like all of it is like surrounding Hulk characters. And the movie, I would say, does a pretty good job of recapping on the events of like the Incredible Hulk, because like who the fuck cares or like remembers that movie other than me, because like I have a lot of nostalgia and attachment with that movie personally, so I remember that movie a lot. And seeing these characters back in it again was kind of exciting for me, but I understand, and why I criticize this movie a lot is that, like, why do we have a brand new Captain America movie with Sam Wilson, his first one as Captain America, and it's like we have all of these Hulk characters in it,
Yeah, like I'm not like opposed to it for like it being like a storyline or whatever. I just feel like there wasn't like enough like Sam Wilson stuff in it, I guess, if that makes any sense. Like, yeah, he still deals with stuff in this movie, obviously.
Yeah.
But obviously, I feel like his miniseries did more for that, which makes sense. But still, it would have been nice to see more of that transfer into this movie. Like, they reference the first, like the other super soldier in the movie. I'm forgetting his name.
Isaiah.
Yeah, Isaiah, right? Like, I like all the stuff for him. Like, I wish there was more stuff for him. I know they did a lot of stuff with him in his miniseries, but it would have been nice to see more of him in this movie in general. I like his friendship with like the new Falcon and stuff. Like, I thought that was fun. But besides that, like, I feel like he's like kind of just there in his own movie. Like, he just doesn't feel like as like major as a character as he should be, right? Which feels a little weird. So
Yeah, but still, like, I feel like Anthony Mackie still brings like
he's still really good. Yeah,
like a very good performance, and I think the thing that people will notice a lot between Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson is that Sam, obviously, I guess like it is corny, like at the end for him to like try to talk down, Red Hulk and like Thaddeus Ross, be like, hey man, like, just like,
look at the sunset
yeah.
or whatever.
Remember your daughter and all of this
Yeah.
other stuff, like I think that is what makes Sam, this Captain America, is that he's actually human. And, him having that conversation with Bucky, like that was like a pretty big surprise. And I'm glad they kept that away from the promo material for that one scene to happen and for it to actually feel like a impact, right? Because, it was like, oh, like he's not going to be in the movie. And I kind of just like accepted that. But for him to show up in that scene after Joaquin Torres, he flies a little bit too close to that rocket. And, him having that moment where it's like, maybe I should have taken the serum, but, Bucky's like, do you think like Steve having the serum saved everyone? Obviously it didn't, but I think him bringing down Sam to like ground level again and being like, hey man, like, you're doing a great job, like you were doing your best. And there's a reason why Steve gave you that shield. And obviously, he already learned that all within his own series, but I think reiterating that is fine within a movie because I guess it goes on to like the whole bigger conversation with like Marvel reinventing the way they do TV, because I think they realized pretty quickly that like people aren't going to be able to sit down and watch 8 episodes of TV and then also go and watch a 2 to 3 hour movie on their cinematic universe and everything like that.
Yeah, it's just kind of like too much to keep up with. Like, there was the fucking tweet from Kojima. It's like, when did Sam get the shield and stuff? Like, I'm confused. I didn't watch the fucking series, right? Yeah. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that feel the same way. Like, even if you talk to like my mom is just like, oh, like, who's this? I'm like, oh, that's Captain America now. I was like, when did that happen? I'm like, oh, it was in like the miniseries. Oh, it's like, like there's like, I feel like a lot of average consumers or like people that just go to the movies are gonna be kind of confused because of this whole, Disney Plus show thing. So I feel like them reworking it to like kind of better suit more casual viewers would help, like a lot to like, get people up to speed and stuff. But yeah, I did like I think a lot of the heartfelt moments in this movie were good. Like I like that Bucky conversation. Obviously they have to like diffuse that at the end because you can't make it like too emotional in the MCU thing and then he goes down a joke. But it was still like a really good like speech. Like it was really nice. Same thing with when he was talking to Falcon at the end as well. Like, like when he was like, he was in the hospital bed and we're like talking. I'm like, that was like really sweet. Like it was a really good conversation and stuff. So I think when it counts, like this movie does have some really good heart in it. And honestly, I really like a lot of the action scenes as well. Like, when they were fighting in like Celestial Island, like that was a really cool fight scene. Like fucking him surfing on a missile. Like there's some Sonic shit, bro. Like that was kind of sick. And the whole fight scene with Red Hulk at the end was also like honestly pretty good. Like some of the CG did look a little janky. Like I could understand, but it didn't take away enough. It wasn't like fucking MODOK, right? Where it looked like really bad. Like I think a lot of the fights looked pretty good in this movie. So like again, just overall, it was just like a good action movie, but I feel like it didn't really like evolve past that, which is like something I think the other Captain America movies did a bit more. Maybe besides the first one, I guess, but like like Civil War and the Winter Soldier, like they both like went above and beyond, like just beyond a regular action movie, right? So
yeah.
So I'm hoping we get to that point where we do get with this Captain America, like we get to that point, but I feel like this movie was still kind of like, it's like we can't make it like too crazy, I guess. So
yeah, I really did like the action sequences and sort of how they used Sam's wings in combination with his shield. And, you see that within the very first action sequence, which, the first clip was was released online, and a lot of people were like, oh, it looks kind of rough, which, like, I'm not gonna lie, it did look a little rough even when I did see it in theaters.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like when you have the camera and sort of the cuts happen so much, it sort of takes away from the experience for me personally. It's always good to, like, just like have like the camera stay still, and when it does, when there is action going on, it does look great. But yeah, and one thing that I do have to address is a lot of people, the amount of YouTubers that I've watched that have talked about this movie and say that, it went through like multiple reshoots or whatever the case is. It's like, it only went through one. And I hate that sort of narrative has really driven online, where people have used that as an excuse to hate the movie, where it's like, yeah, it went through like multiple rounds of reshoots, when it's like, that is not true. It only went through one. And I think every single Marvel movie has gone through at least one round of reshoots. And I think reshoots in general isn't necessarily a negative on any film. I think it's always fine to go back and like re-pick up like a shot or something like that you need for the film. I mean, I do that for like my fucking YouTube videos, where sometimes like I'll say something like in like my voiceover and it doesn't sound right. So then I'll go back, re-record it and try to splice it in as best as I can. So, I think people need to understand that there was only one round of reshoots and stop saying that multiple reshoots have happened, because it just continues the spread of misinformation.
Yeah, and even then, I feel like it wouldn't be like the biggest problem with the movie, even if it it's just people saying like, oh, this is like, we have multiple reshoots, and then like that's the main reason why this is the issues with the thing. But honestly, I just feel like it's kind of just like, it's just like that fit like a lot in this movie with like the miniseries, and I feel like that's kind of like where things kind of like, get a little messy, and they want to fit in the Hulk stuff. I felt like it probably would have been better if they kind of just left the Hulk stuff for like its own thing and kind of focus more on like the military stuff in this, because again, I feel like it just takes away a lot from like Sam's like thing, right? Like I feel like, why would you do all this fucking Hulk stuff?
I mean, I did like the conflict between him and Thaddeus Ross. I thought that was a lot of fun. That's
fine. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, but, and also Harrison Ford, he does a great job as usual. I haven't watched the Indiana Jones movies and, and all that stuff, but, every single time I see him within a film, he always brings his A game.
Yeah, I mean, apparently he really enjoyed playing this role. Like, he always talked about, I love being the Red Hulk. It was great. So he just fucking hates Han Solo, like, a lot. I don't know why, but he really
Honestly,
does.
I don't blame him. Fuck Star Wars. Anyways. But yeah, moving forward, I hope that, because it is weird that we're leading up to Avengers now, right? Like, every single time I think about the MCU, it's like, they might not have had the plan from Iron Man to Endgame, but the way that they were able to plan everything out and have everything come out within like a reasonable amount of time was always just like, how did they do it kind of thing? Because, leading up to Endgame or even Infinity War, we had 3 Captain America movies, and now leading up to Doomsday, we have the Falcon show and 1 Captain America movie, which, that's like, I would say like, maybe 2 movies you could like get away with. Even then, I think the content wise is like more than 3 movies kind of thing. But even then, I would say like the character progression and all that other stuff is like not there. And I feel like it's not earned to get us to another Avengers movie kind of thing. But that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. Like I was actually talking to my brother about this, where I'm like, it's kind of weird. Like we have this movie, then we have Thunderbolts, and then Fantastic Four, and then it's like the 2 Avengers movies, right? I'm pretty sure.
Maybe Spider-Man 4 somewhere in there.
Maybe Spider-Man somewhere in there, yeah. But it feels like way too soon. Like, it almost feels like the Avengers movies are going to be the start of a saga instead of the end of one. But, like, that's not usually how it works. So I don't really know. I was like, I don't know how this movie was even going to lead to the next Avenger movies. But then, the conversation is like, oh, you have to, like, make the new Avengers or whatever. So I'm like, okay, like, that's kind of where that, first spark of it comes in. And then you have the post-credit scene was like, they're coming over the fuck. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
It's just like a tease for, it's like another tease for the multiverse stuff. I'm like, yeah, we've been dealing with that for the last like 5 years. Like, it's not like anything new. It was a really weak post-credit scene, I'm not going to lie. But, yeah, but besides that, it was a fine movie. We're going to talk about Thunderbolts in a bit, but like, that movie's also probably going to be fine. Again, I'm more excited for like the future. Like Fantastic Four looks really good. And then the 2 Avengers movies, I'm sure, are going to be good as well. Like, I feel like that's when they start getting their shit back together, because these 2 movies feel like the remnants of like what they had going for, and they had like kind of scrapped together or whatever. I feel like Fantastic Four, it feels like the first movie where it's like, okay, we know what we're doing a little bit, so let's keep going on from there, right? So I will say, like, yeah, Fantastic Four is the one I'm really looking forward to, and like Thunderbolts I probably also am just gonna watch and probably think it's just fine as well. So
Hey,
but yeah,
look,
overall, yeah.
test screenings for that film have been very positive, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But all I have to say is that I hope the next Captain America movie featuring Sam Wilson is his own story, his own characters, his own world. Obviously, it's going to deal with the sort of post Secret Wars type shit or whatever. But I just hope that it is his own grounded movie again, and it's not some other things that they're trying to squeeze in there or whatever. So.
Yeah, so I mean, overall, it was fine. Like, I think all the YouTubers saying like this is the worst piece of garbage ever. I'm just like, I mean, it's not. Like, it's fine. But you gotta get the views, so that's just how it is.
All right, so let's get into recent activities. I'll go first, actually, just to get it out of the way. So I finished BAKERU finally. The review is going to come out 12 p.m. tomorrow or whatever. If you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be out in a few hours, if not out already. But yeah, it took me a lot longer to finish this game. I looked at the timeline of when I first started recording for it, and it was like last month, and I was like, shit, it took me a month to play like a 10-hour, sort of like 3D platformer. I was like, why is that? And, just thinking back on it, I was like, damn, this game is really like 10 to 13 hours. And I think that is like the biggest detriment to this game is that it's actually like too long. Like at a certain point, I think 4 to 5 hours in, you get everything. You get all of your upgrades, you get all of your power-ups, and the game doesn't really progress. Like, you don't get anything new. There are items you can buy which are straight up broken. The items pretty much make any boss fight like your bitch. Like, there's one item, it's called the Green Shield Gummy. You just take 0 damage. You literally just pop it during the boss fight. You just mash your buttons and then just kill them. And then there's also like a wooden token that pretty much saves you from dying and being put back to the last checkpoint. So it's pretty much a extra life. So yeah, there's a lot of things about this game that are just not balanced, and I think the fun factor all comes down to if you like the Japanese aesthetic, because I will give it that. The fact that every single level is a different prefecture of Japan is pretty cool, not gonna lie. The collectibles are a lot of fun. There's like these little yellow guys that you could find, and they give you like a random fact about like life or Japan or anything like that. It's like, it's a lot of fun just to like see like what kind of little like interesting fact that they decided to put in the game. And there's like over 60 levels. There's different boss fights that you could fight. So obviously you have like the main 3 ones that give you those extra powers. But like I said, after like 3 or 4 to 5 hours, you don't get any more of those like big boss fights. There's some like boxing ones where you're like a big robot. I think you play one of those levels in the demo, and it's still just as fun as it is in there. It's mindless. Like, really, these boss fights and like the game in and of itself is not going to challenge you that much. It's just, if you want a 3D platformer that's chill, has some beat 'em up action, sure, go buy it. It's $40 though, so I don't know if you want to be spending that kind of money on a game like that. On the Switch, it doesn't run the best, I will say. There's a lot of slowdown. When you open the menu to bring up your power-ups, I said it took like 5 seconds in my video, but I think it took like maybe like a few seconds. But even then, when you're moving so fast and you want to do so much at once, that like 1 to 2 to 3 seconds does take up like a long time. And you're like, all right, man, you pop, like I'm holding the left trigger, just pop up, kind of thing.
Right.
The load times are obviously very long because it's a fucking Switch game. But yeah, like if you want a 3D platformer that has that Japanese aesthetic and also beat 'em up action, this is your game. But I feel like that's a very like niche thing to really be looking for. So you can definitely skip out on this one. There's no harm in that. Do you have any thoughts you want to say, Damian? Or
I mean, yeah, I still want to like get it, but I probably will just get it on sale at some point on like digital sale or whatever, because I love the aesthetics of the game, and I've seen some reviews of it. And it does like something like I would like, but yeah, I feel like when a platformer is maybe a little too long, it kind of like runs out of like surprises. Like it just gets a bit boring. Which is why, I liked Astrobot so much, because I feel like every level was like a new thing. There was a new mechanic, and I think that's what you really need for 3D platformers to be super good, besides just being like kind of just average. You either need to have really good movement, so it just feels good to play, or you have to have very good level design where it's like, it's like a new thing every level, right? So
yeah, and it's also challenging.
and challenging too, right? Like that kind of goes with both of those aspects of platformers. So I feel like that's what you get to make a really really good platformer, right? Like Mario, what's it called? Wonder, right? Wonder had like a bunch of new things coming out every single time. Things like Sunshine, the movement was really good in that game. So things like that, and it looks like BAKERU is more of like that middle of the road 3D platformer. Things you would expect, like from like the GameCube days, where it's just like kind of okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still give it to Good Feel for making their own IP and stuff, because they usually are like making stuff for Nintendo only, which I guess they still are. But you know what I mean, like they could do their own IP and stuff, make their own like little Goemon like spiritual successor. So I probably will still pick it up one day, but looks like I might just get it on sale and just wait. So
all right. Then the other thing, I've been tortured by my girlfriend to play Overwatch because there was a big update where they added perks to the game.
Yeah.
So pretty much you get 2 perks, and I think one when you hit level 1, and then the other one when you hit level 3 or something like that. So
the
the
level
first
2 and 3, yeah. So.
Yeah. So like the first perk is like, it's whatever. The second perk is like the big game changer one, where it'll change your abilities. It'll give you like a enhanced passive or something like that, whatever. And yeah, I mean, it was fun at first, I will say, just because like as a Overwatch hater, like playing competitive and like seeing like what these new abilities could do, and like as like a tank main, because I feel like every time we play competitive, if I'm not on tank, this shit's not gonna work. And like even though I can play the other roles like decent enough in that elo, like silver gold type of thing, if the tank's bad, we're not moving. We're not fucking moving, and that sucks with the whole 5v5 one tank thing, which is why I think Marvel Rivals strives a lot more. Even then, like if you're playing like 5v6, it is still like a huge detriment. But anyways, but yeah, Overwatch 2 with the perks, like it's fine, it's cool. They even brought back the loot boxes or whatever. My girlfriend, she tried to snatch my free 5 from like Discord or whatever. I was like, all right, here's the code. And she was like, damn it, it's just 1 redemption. I was like, all right, well, I guess I get 5 loot boxes or whatever. But yeah, I mean, Overwatch, it feels more or less the same. I think that if anything, they just have to revert everything that they did to make Overwatch 2, which is bring back the 6v6 and maybe some other changes, some other hero nerfs or whatever that I don't personally know about. But, it just felt like it felt good at first with the new abilities, but it feels like it's still retreading the same old Overwatch 2 problem, which is the 5v5.
Yeah, basically. Like, I mean, it's... I played only like a few games. I played enough to play like all my main characters, like Pharah, Lucio. I tried a new tank Hazard, because I didn't play him yet. Orisa I played, and who else I played? A few other people that I'm forgetting, but like, and it did feel good. Like Lucio especially felt so good. I did like 7k damage as Lucio and had a budget, because you could get like a fucking full auto when you do amp up, and it feels really good. And your boop like sends people like far away, and it feels really good. Some other people didn't feel so good. Like Farah's like implosion thing with her concussion grenade, that kept fucking me up, because I like to do like the fake rocket jump where you like aim it behind you so you can get like a boost. When you have implosion, like sucks you in, so I kept fuck, right, it doesn't work like that anymore. And like, you can move when you ult, which like I guess like it really isn't like that crazy, to be honest. You still go like a sniper can still shoot you in like 2 seconds, so it's whatever. But I think the perk system, it feels like what Overwatch 2 should have launched with to begin with. It it makes it feel very different from Overwatch 1. But like you said, the 5v5, 6v6 thing, with Marvel Rivals being 6v6, it helps a lot to have the 2-2-2 structure. I know you can be more flexible in Marvel Rivals, like you don't have to have 2-2-2.
Yeah.
But, having 2 tanks just feels really good, right? Because it just makes tank design feel better, because you kind of have to make everyone a main tank in Overwatch when the game wasn't, like, designed for that. Like, people like Zarya was supposed to be, like, an off tank, so they could, like, shield the big tank or any other people, like, in the other roles or whatever the fuck. Now it just feels like everyone has to be a main tank, and just doesn't feel as good. And it makes it so if one tank is really struggling, they can't have someone else to rely on. And it makes that role feel like a lot harder to play now, unless you play as Orisa like I do and just fucking kill everyone, because that character is broken. But, I will say, after playing, like, Marvel Rivals for, like, a month or 2 and going back to Overwatch, I will say, like, the gameplay in Overwatch really does feel, like, a lot fucking better. I'm not going to lie. Like, just in terms of, like, moment-to-moment gameplay. Like, I just feel like it feels so much more polished. It feels, like, really good to shoot shit in that game. It just feels good. When I was playing Lucio, I'm like, oh, yeah, I fucking, like, forgot how good it is to, like, play this game. But we'll say, like, just the overall like structure of the game, because again, Overwatch is going back to 6v6 anyway. Like all the changes they did to Overwatch 2 are basically being eroded away anyway, to go back to how Overwatch 1 was. And Marvel Rivals is already like that. People are starting to like not having role queue because you can have more flexible team comps and stuff. The overall just community support of Marvel Rivals is a bit better. They add more heroes like every patch or whatever. There's just more things to get excited about in Marvel Rivals. Oh, also it's like the new shiny thing, right? And Overwatch has, just years and years of like letdowns and like promises broken and Blizzard sucking. I'm not saying NetEase is any better, but I am saying like Blizzard has a really bad reputation. So even if this patch was good, like it does seem like a lot of people are liking this Overwatch patch. It still has like a long way to go for people to like kind of like forgive Overwatch, right? Even if I do think like overall, and I already said this when Marvel Rivals came out, I do think Overwatch overall is like a more polished game and like a better feeling game, but Marvel Rivals just has like just more sauce to it at the moment. So but yeah, I'll wait until the next patch for Overwatch when that new game mode comes out. That looks kind of fun. It looks like it's going to change things up quite a bit. But the perk system is a good step in the right direction to making Overwatch feel like a fresh thing again. So I don't envy the balance team at all, though. They did like an AMA on Reddit, and I'm just like, man, you guys have Blizzard could barely balance shit to begin with. So I don't know how they're gonna balance like 100 something perks. So good luck to them. I want Overwatch to get better. I am gonna like that game always probably. So just make it better, and that's it.
Definitely playing Overwatch made me feel like, damn, I wish this was open queue to a certain extent, because I understand why they implemented role queue because of the meta that they somehow brought upon themselves, where it was like 5 tanks or whatever at some point, right? Within like competitive.
Well, the GOAT meta. Yeah. Like, they're bringing that back. Like people liked it. Like, no, I thought people hated the GOAT meta.
So, I feel like Blizzard had a lot of shortcomings, which is the reason why they implemented role queue. But I think Marvel Rivals, they haven't had that issue yet. I've seen some people run like triple healer, and that shit's annoying. But they nerfed
it, right?
Yeah, they just nerfed a bunch of the healers. So I feel like
Dagger feels like a lot worse now. Like, no.
So I feel like that NetEase is definitely watching the game balance there a lot more, and monitoring it and all that other stuff. So maybe they'll take away role queue within Overwatch 2. I don't know, but we'll just have to wait and see.
I think it's good to have both, right? Like I do like role queue, like if you're just playing by yourself, like playing by yourself just to do some dailies in Marvel Rivals feels fucking awful, because like, oh, someone just sniped this thing I needed. Well, I guess I have to play healer for this game and not lead. Like that feels kind of shit. Like I feel like you should just have both options available. Like you shouldn't like pigeonhole like everyone to like the same queue. But I feel like in competitive, like it's just gonna be open queue, because it's just like you could just talk to the teammates and be like, okay, what do we need, blah blah blah. Obviously in the perfect world that's how that would work, but probably not. Overwatch, I'm happy Blizzard are really taking big steps, and they are improving themselves based off Marvel Rivals, since they straight up said like, this is like the most threatened we've ever felt from another game before. So I'm happy Marvel Rivals is making Overwatch better, and hopefully Overwatch will make Marvel Rivals better if they do fumble as well. So that's all I gotta say with that. So yeah.
All right. So the last thing I did was that I did the AMC movie marathon experience, and shout out to Jimmy, because he reached out to me and was like, hey man, do you want to do this? It's like for the best picture, they're going to do, I believe it's 2 separate days, 5 movies each. I only saw 3. So the first day was I'm Still Here, Conclave, Nickel Boys, Honora, and The Substance. I left before Honora because there was an hour-long break in between that, and I didn't want to stay past like midnight to like watch 2 extra movies, and one of them I already saw because I worked the next day. But anyways, so I watched all 3 of these movies. Just overall on that experience, holy fuck, man, I was so tired. I did not expect myself to be as tired as I was, because you're there for like multiple hours. Obviously, I was there for like 5 or 6. And in between each movie, they give you 10 minutes, legit 10 minutes. God. That's it. You got 10 minutes to go to the bathroom, get snacks, do whatever. They're a lot more loose with like people bringing in like their backpacks and whatnot, because obviously like you're going to be there for fucking ever. But yeah, and also they didn't do it at a theater that was closer to us this year. We had to travel like pretty far out, and that was my first time ever going to that theater, so it was pretty cool. But I'm like, I got to go like 40 minutes out. Shit, this sucks. But yeah, just about the movie. So I didn't know much about any of these really. I've heard about Conclave, and that's like a more like religious sort of like they're trying to decide who's the next pope, I think. So there's a lot of like politics and stuff like that. Honestly, I fell asleep during it because I was so fucking tired. But also, I don't really know much about church stuff. So I'm gonna rewatch it with my girlfriend who grew up in like that Catholic environment, I guess.
Right.
So maybe she'll be able
Daredevil, to, you know some stuff.
Shut up. maybe I'll be able to pull more stuff out when I'm watching with her. But I did wake up and watch some of like the good parts and like the good drama. I was like, oh shit, the tea, like what the fuck's going on? So I could see why people really like that movie, and it is crazy to me that just like off topic, like the fucking Academy that do the Oscars, that they don't watch every movie, or they have these assumptions that are just straight up wrong. Like I think the person who's up for Best Actor for Conclave, I'm sorry for forgetting his name, but they didn't vote for him because they thought he won another year. So they voted for the main actor in The Brutalist, which I heard that he did a fantastic fucking job. But even then, it's like, why are you not voting for the guy that you think is gonna win? And why are you not watching every movie that's up for nomination? Anyways,
yeah, that's really dumb.
That is like insane to me. And then the first movie we watched, I had no idea what the fuck this was about. It's called I'm Still Here. I believe it's based on a true story. It was made in Brazil/France. It's all spoken in French or the whatever language that they were speaking it. So it is 100% a foreign film. So really reading subtitles is nothing new to me, but I really enjoyed this story because I had no idea what the fuck was going on. It's about the sort of like, I think the Brazilian government was trying to sort of like be like a dictatorship, and then obviously democracy prevailed at a certain point, but it goes through this one family's life where sort of everything just gets fucking twisted on its head. And it was very interesting. I really liked it, not just because I didn't know what was going on, but because it just told a very good story, great performances. And I think that if you are someone that wants to watch a very great foreign film, and I think that this is the first ever Brazilian film up for Best Picture nomination, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, very, very good film. And then Nickel Boys. This is one that I heard a little bit about because I heard a lot of people really talking about this a ton. So it's pretty much about, from my understanding, I believe there was these things in Florida in, it was like a reform school, and it's about these two boys who are in there, and they just go on sort of, I'm not gonna say adventures, but sort of like their time there, and sort of how that sort of like Jim Crow era being like a African American, and sort of like what that experience was for them. It was very, very good. And also the whole movie, also like the biggest fucking thing is that it's all in like POV. Like you were watching the movie from one of the characters' perspectives, and it switches between these two boys, and it's very good. The way that they use this point of view aspect for the film is so insane. I've never seen anything like it. And also the twist that happens, not going to say when it happens, but when it happens, I was like, holy fuck, what the hell is going on? It's also a very long film. So like, I will say that right now, it's not as long as the fucking Brutalist, which is like 4 hours long.
Jesus Christ.
This one I think is closer to 3 hours or something like that.
Lord.
So it's definitely over 2. But yeah, Nickel Boys is very, very fucking good. If you ever have a chance to see this, rent it digitally, whatever the case is, please watch this. It is one of the best movies of last year, and I wish I saw it last year, 100%. But yeah, that's pretty much my little movie tangent for the episode.
All right. So for me, I've been playing Avowed. So I'm playing this on Game Pass, just to save some money, because there's like a shit ton of games that came out this month. So I'm like, I'm going to save some money when I can. So $10 for PC Game Pass, like that's fucking insane. And I was able to play it day one, still can't get over that. Every time I do that, I'm like, holy shit, feels like I'm stealing. So, but anyway, Avowed. So this is the new game by Obsidian. They made Fallout New Vegas. They did like South Park: The Stick of Truth. They did Outer Worlds. They did a bunch of bullshit. I really like all their RPGs and stuff. Grounded they did recently that people really liked. Pentiment as well. So they have a really good reputation. And then this game came out and people liked it, but it wasn't like the like the blowout a lot of people were expecting it to be. It does seem to be very in line with how Outer Worlds was received, where it's like, yeah, it's good. It's like a 7-8. It doesn't really reach too much out of its scope. Like, this game isn't trying to be like a Bethesda game or anything. Like, it's not trying to be like the new Skyrim, right? Even though it looks like, it's like, oh, first person medieval RPG, that has to be like an Elder Scrolls game, right? And it's not. Yeah, it is doing its own thing where the game is smaller in scope. You still got like a few big open areas to explore, but it's not open world at all. Like, you just have these like big zones you could explore, do some quests, kill some monsters, and go through the story and stuff. It's also not as long as one of those games. I'm still not done with it. I'm like 20 hours in, but I think it's like, if you're like beelining it, I think it's only like 30 hours. But if you're doing everything, it's like probably 50, which is like, to other Western RPGs, like especially the one that came out recently, Kingdom Come 2, that one's like 100 hours. So this is like half the length of that, doing everything, right? So, I think the main problem with this game is getting overshadowed by Kingdom Come 2, because that game, did a lot. That game is more what people are looking for in terms of like that open world Western RPG thing. Your choices matter. You could like kill NPCs. You could do whatever the fuck you want, just like an Elder Scrolls game. This game is a lot more it's a lot more curated. Like, you have like, you just kind of go through the main storyline, you do your quest, you kill some guys, and you have a fun time, right? And I think it does that really well. I think the game runs okay on PC. I don't really have a really strong PC by modern standards anymore, I guess, but it runs okay on my computer. And it looks great. Like, I think like graphics wise, it looks good. It's probably like the best looking Obsidian game they've made. Like, the environments look really good. I really like the sort of like the bright medieval setting they use. I know a lot of games kind of go for the more dreary, like, dark fantasy setting with medieval that's really gritty and shit. This one's very colorful. There's a lot of like nice greens everywhere, a lot of open fields. I just really like the aesthetics of this game. The story is kind of like the main, like, I guess, dividing point of this game, where like some people just aren't engaged with it at all. It's not really trying to do anything super new. This is based off Obsidian's Pillars of an Eternity RPGs, which I haven't played, but I do want to play at some point. And you have all the typical fantasy tropes. You have like elves and dwarves and all that bullshit, dragons. But it has some interesting like own lore with godlikes or whatever and shit. And this game deals a lot with that. So I think it's like kind of interesting, but I can see how people think the story is a bit like too exposition focused, because every character just spouts like a bunch of bullshit at you, where you just gotta kind of absorb it, and it doesn't feel very natural. Which I'm not like the biggest fan of that in RPGs. I like it when games really like kind of they just like talk like characters instead of like info dumps, right? Like, you kind of just want to get to know the characters as characters, and not like, okay, let me tell you about this great war that happened, or blah blah blah. Like, it doesn't feel very natural, and this game's kind of full with that. But I think it's okay. Like, I think the main story so far has been kind of interesting, and I've been enjoying the side quests and all the other characters and stuff. So as of right now, like, it's nothing to write home about, but it's okay. The best thing about the game is the exploration and combat. Since the game isn't open world, I feel like the big zones they've done, which I think there's like 4 or 5 of them, I'm not too sure. But each of them feels like they're jam-packed with stuff to do, and it doesn't feel like I'm just kind of like walking around with nothing to do, like a lot of open world games do. You could, and there's not like map markers telling you where to go. You kind of just explore the little zone. You find treasures and shit. You do side quests, and it's a lot of fun. The game has like a really fun parkour system too, where you kind of like climb over anything. So the game has a lot of verticality to it, which is really unique for this type of game. And another thing that's unique for these type of first-person medieval RPGs is like the combat isn't shit. Like, the combat actually feels really good in this game. Because whenever I play like Skyrim, right? I like Skyrim, but the combat in that game kind of feels like it's not that great. Like, you kind of just when you hit people with your sword, it feels like you're just left clicking people. Magic in that game also just like doesn't feel super great. This game is like the opposite. Like, everything you do in this game feels really good. Like, melee combat has a lot of good weight to it. Every time you swing a sword or whatever, like, there's like a lot of hit stop when you hit an enemy, so it feels really impactful. Bows and arrows feel really good as well. I've been using magic, and all the magical spells like feel very impactful as well. You can like combo together spells together, so like the combat feels very fast and frantic. You have like a dodge you could do. It just feels great. Like, it's like shocking how good the combat is in this game, and I think that's what really carries this game is the exploration and combat. And that's kind of like what a lot of the reviews are saying, and I definitely agree with that. But overall, I think it's a fun time. It's nothing that's gonna like blow your mind or whatever. But if you're looking for just like a nice, like, just fun medieval RPG to play through, I think Avowed is pretty good. And again, you could get on Game Pass for $10, on PC, and I think it's like $20 for consoles for their Ultimate Game Pass, whatever the fuck. And I think that's like a perfect thing, right? Like I wouldn't say it's like strictly a Game Pass game because I know that's like a mean thing to say. But like if you want to say, because it's $70 by itself, so I definitely don't think it's worth like 70. But with Game Pass, I think it's like perfect. So I'm having a good time. I'm definitely looking forward to beating it, and I do want to play Outer Worlds fully before Outer Worlds 2 comes out because I do like Obsidian a lot. So, but yeah, Avowed is pretty good. I've been enjoying it. Fortnite new season came out. You know how it is. I didn't play too much of it. I feel like everyone's like super try hard right now. Like I'm able to win a game the first like day or two, but like everyone's been going like fucking MOG try hard, bro. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with everyone right now. I'm like, Jesus, like people are going mad hard. But it's like a crime centric season. You got like new points of interest. I really enjoyed. I actually think I enjoyed the mechanics of this season more than last season because you could like open vaults and it's like a whole sequence where you like fight a bunch of guards and fight some boss fights and fight other players that come in because when you open the vault, everyone gets alerted. And once you open it, you get a shit ton of loot. You get these little dill coins or whatever the fuck. And like,
the dill cryptocurrency.
Yeah, you get like the cryptocurrency, so you could buy like legendary weapons in like the black markets around the map. And I really enjoy a lot of the new items. Like the new laser burst thing is like insane. That thing feels so good to use. Sub-Zero's like weapon feels really good as well. The baseball bat feels like a good middle ground of mobility and not being like super broken like the swords were. And yeah, I think overall, I think the gameplay of the season is like pretty good. The XP feels a lot tuned too. Like milestone quests are back, so I'm like level 17 already. I haven't really done much, so like it feels like the leveling has been a lot improved a bunch since the last season because last season was like very dry with the XP. So yeah, it's been good. And Cowboy Bebop came in and I bought them. So, so there you go.
Yeah, even though the XP was dry last season, my girlfriend was still level 200.
She was doing like XP glitches though. So.
For this season, yeah, first day it was very interesting because I couldn't buy the fucking battle pass, and I saw some other people on Twitter that were replying to Fortnite or whatever. So it was just like a weird bug for like certain accounts where it just wouldn't work on here. It wouldn't work on my PS5. I was like, all right, my account's bugged. I'm not buying the battle pass right now, but I do have the battle pass. But anyways, the core mechanics or just like the theme of this season being just like heists and banking and all that stuff, I think is pretty cool. Pulling up on people when they're doing the vault and they have no idea that it's you because there's like footsteps guards everywhere. Yeah, there's like a bajillion guards. So like if you're pulling up on someone, they're going to be confused at first in terms of like who's actually who. But yeah, I mean, it is pretty cool. I didn't know that you had to shoot like the burning hot red things.
Me either. I learned that like yesterday. I'm like, fuck, whoops.
To like move it faster because at first I was like, damn, this should take it a minute. I was like, you can actually like shoot things because that was part of a mission or whatever. But yeah, it just feels like the same old Fortnite. I think the new items and new weapons are very balanced, very much in tune with what I would want within a Fortnite experience. Like the sniper's not going to necessarily one-shot you unless you get a headshot because it does have 3 bullets in the chamber. But yeah, same old Fortnite, having fun with it. Probably going to play more later, but yeah.
All right, and last thing we both did was Lost Records, Bloom and Rage. So this is the new game by Don't Nod, and this is very much in line with the games they've done before, like Life is Strange, obviously. What was the other one? Oh, Tell Me Why. It's very much in that same genre of games, and just my initial like just full thoughts of it is I really liked it like a lot. I really enjoyed it. I think it really nailed the vibe of the original Life is Strange, probably the most out of any of the other games that came out since. Like, I was a big fan of it. Like, I really enjoyed like a lot of the things it was going for. I've read some things online where people say it did feel very slow, and it is a really slow game in terms of like story. But I think that's like to its benefit because I feel like you get to know the characters, and that's a big thing with these games is knowing the characters and stuff. And I think it does build up its mystery pretty okay towards the end. But yeah, I mean, overall, I just really liked it. And before I get more into it, what were your like overall thoughts about this game?
Yeah, so going into it, it's $40. So I was like, okay, it can't be that long, right? Part 2's coming out next month or whatever. Oh shit, it's like 8 hours. I was like, okay, I should strap in. Even though there's like no like episodic parts to it, you kind of could just stop whenever you see that save button, which is what I did. Like like an hour goes by, I'm like, all right, it's saved. All right, I'm stopping here because I feel like I was very much like graphic adventure, Lost Records out kind of thing. I was like, okay, I think I'm done because it does move a little slow, but I think for what the characters are and sort of how they present the story, because it's about these group of kids who had this thing happen to them during summer yeah, pretty much summer. They live in this small town. The four of them just met each other on some random day, and they just became best of friends. And something happens, and now it's like over 20, maybe even 30 years later, you know, some of them are getting back together. They're sort of talking about like what happened during that time. And I just love the way that they present its story, going from first person with the present, because that's very personal, very close, and very current. And then when you go to third person, it's in the past, and you're sort of remembering things and trying to piece everything together. It's very good. I really do enjoy when don't not go back to these kinds of games. You know, even though I haven't played their other stuff, I feel like they're always most successful here in this sort of genre. And they nailed the vibe 100%. Like they nailed all of these characters. I love that we play as the girl that's like very socially awkward and very much like she has no friends, but she comes across this group that's very welcoming to her, and she finds these people very cool. And obviously through dialogue choices and all of that stuff, you can make them, you know, just acquaintances or new friends or whatever. Because by the end of it, I had everyone as like new friend, and I was like, okay, like that's good, but you could have them be like your BFF or sort of be someone that's like much closer to you, kind of thing. So like I thought that was pretty cool that you could develop those friendships in that way if you chose to do so. Obviously, just like by the way you played the game. So yeah, it's very good, especially for the price that it's asking for. Obviously, it's only part 1 right now, but part 2 is going to come out in April.
Yeah, so like, you know, I think the thing this game does very well, like I kept saying, is the vibes of it. Like it's so good. Like it nails the like mid 90s like summer vacation weird shit happening vibes, and I love that shit. Like I love any game that's like takes place in like that summer vacation sort of like oh your friends are there bullshit. Like I don't know, I always love that shit. You know, Life is Strange 1 did that really well. A bunch of other media stuff has done that well. Like I really like Gravity Falls for that reason as well. The Persona 4 in particular does that well as well. And yeah, I think that stuff is, and that's basically like the core of the game is mostly just getting to know these characters. Obviously, there's the weird stuff going on, and it goes cut to the present, which again I really like as well. You know, just these friends coming together just to see what's going on. It's very like It. Like, I don't know if you ever watched It, but it's very It.
Yes.
I mean, it references it a ton in this. Like, there's the red balloon and there's the fucking clown. So, like, they're very aware this is very much just It with, like with Life is Strange stuff into it as well. And, you know, I think that sort of story structure works really well as, you know, just reminiscing on, like, how they became friends. And it's just, like, just really fun times to get to know these characters. I feel like the problem with some games is they don't take the time to do this, where it's just like, oh, you're just friends instantly. Like this one, like, you know, it really starts off where you see the beginning of their friendship and you go throughout the summer, like really getting to know all these characters and stuff. And I think that's really good. And, you know, just graphically, it's kind of insane. Like this game, like just looks better than Double Exposure when, you know, Life is Strange is like a bigger franchise in general. Like, you know, this game still has the Don't Nod problem where like lip syncing still isn't super great. And it also has the Sonic Adventure 2 problem where everyone keeps fucking talking over each other. Like sometimes it feels like it's like, you know, okay, like that makes sense why they're talking over each other because it feels realistic. But sometimes it's like, okay, that didn't feel intentional. So it just kept reminding me of fucking Sonic Adventure 2. But, you know, besides those technical issues and like some frame rate issues, like particularly in the forest when like it was going like fucking 20 frames a second. I'm like, oh God, what's going on? I think the game looks beautiful. Like, again, I think it really nails the aesthetic like super well. And, you know, I just love a lot of the characters. Like, I think by the end of it, I think I had most of them at BFF. I think I had Kat at like love interest just because I kept hanging out with her because she was weird. I was like,
okay. No. Kat is so fucking weird, but I loved her.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to get to know her. I'm like, what's your fucking process? Every time I can hang out with her, I'm like, I want to know what's wrong with her. And, you know, like again, there's not like a lot of big things that happen like towards a lot of the game. Again, it really is just getting to know these characters, which I enjoyed. But I can see like that's the common complaint is that it does feel very slow until the end when they see the fucking abyss or whatever. I'm like, oh, okay. And then you know, the stuff at the end when we do the Bloom and Rage concert and fucking Kat like just passes out. So 'cause she has fucking leukemia. I'm like, oh
yes.
That was a good bait out. I thought she was gonna get like psychic powers because she had the nosebleed, but then she has fucking leukemia. I'm like, oh fuck, sorry.
Yeah.
So I thought it was
that
good.
twist was actually like kind of crazy. So I was like, yo, what the fuck? Wait, she's sick? Like she has leukemia? I was like, what the fuck's going on? But yeah, just going back on like I guess like the presentation of it, I'm very impressed that Donut was able to get these kinds of graphics. Even though like every time you get into like a new scene, like the graphics like pop in a little bit. They're still loading they're still loading the textures a little bit. It definitely felt like nothing on the voice actors. They all do a great job, but it felt like. And this is probably true, but like none of them were like in like the same booth with each other. It felt like they were all doing their own performances, whatever the sort of like voice director gave them, and they just did it. So when characters are talking, sometimes the tone and sort of like the way things are delivered isn't exactly the same, but it's fine. I just love, like you said, with the whole like summer vacation vibes kind of thing. It's very cringe, like at times I was like, oh shit, like I remember when I was a kid, doing shit during the summer. And I was like, hey, they're putting on this fucking concert, they're singing and whatnot. I'm like, this is kind of cringe, but you know what? I love it. It's what I played these fucking games for. But yeah, like the presentation could be a little better, but it's fine. I will let it slide as I always do with Don't Nod. But yeah, I mean, we haven't even talked about the fucking gameplay. The gameplay of you obviously making choices, talking to them, all that stuff. But the main thing that you will be doing is recording stuff because she really likes movies, because Swan really likes being a filmographer or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of fun. I love that aspect of this game where you are just filming things, and once you get enough of them, you could turn it into a memoir, as they call it, where it's like pretty much a video, and you could edit it and splice it up however you want. If you take multiple clips, you could edit it into whatever sort of, swap it out, etc., etc. It's a lot of fun. I think that this is the most I've really felt engaged with the gameplay yet in like one of these games. And yeah, it was just a lot of fun from that aspect. And also just like the little things, right? Like when you pick up like objects, even though you're not required to pick up everything, like you could exit scenes like instantly. But obviously like the point of these games is for you to walk around, talk to the characters. When you pick up stuff, there's like a sound effect that plays with that specific item. That's like the first thing I noticed when I was playing this game. It's like, oh, like that's cool. Like when you pick up the fucking pill of bottles, it's like, oh, look, it sounds like bottles or like pills are in there. I was like, okay, like that's pretty cool. So I really like that Donut went the extra step to make that in the sort of gameplay presentation.
Yeah, I feel like, just because you don't have like a power in this game, she can't like rewind or whatever. I do feel like the video recording thing was like a lot of fun as just a gameplay tool as well. Because, a lot of collectible, it kind of just feels like you're playing Pokemon Snap or something where you could like kind of zoom in on like birds, or you could get like these different categories of stuff. Like actually, like I think my playtime might have been a bit more inflated because I kept doing it because I'm like, it's kind of fun. Like I might actually go back and like try to get all the collectibles because why not? But yeah, it was fun to like record these videos, and when you actually go watch back the videos, you can like edit it as well. You can move clips around, put new clips if you want. And the aesthetics of it are very like accurate to that time. Like my dad had one of those old video cameras as well, and he has a lot of those like old 90s, like early 2000s videos saved. It basically look exactly like that. So that was like very nostalgic as well. So just seeing like little me, I'm like, oh yeah, it's kind of like how that looks for real. So I really like the whole Pokemon Snap aspect. Like you said, everything feels very interactable. Like when you pick up stuff, it does like all the cool noises and shit. And, I like that. It feels very good because I'm the type of player that like basically interacts with everything in these games and like to talk to everyone before I move on to the next scene. I feel like Don't Nod made that really rewarding in this game. And another, I guess like the last thing in terms of gameplay, I really enjoy like the new like sort of dialogue system where it's not as like railroaded like the other games are. Like it like kind of comes up dynamically. So if a character, if you don't let a character finish what they're saying, you like kind of miss out on some dialogue. Swan won't know what the fuck they're gonna say. So like the choice doesn't pop up. But if you wait for what they're about to say, then a new choice pops up as well. So it just makes the dialogue feel a lot more interactive and like flows better, and it kind of rewards you for not like jumping the gun and like, oh, I'm gonna pick this immediately or whatever, right? And I really enjoy that sort of like twist on the choosing dialogue, right? So.
Yeah, and even when you're like walking around and stuff, like I feel like this is one of the very few like modern games that uses the fucking D-pad, right? Yeah. because I was like, oh, okay, so like we're moving with the left analog stick, and then if a choice pops up, you move those choices with the D-pad. And I was like, oh, okay, like that's pretty cool. So, I feel like Don't Not use pretty much all of the buttons on a controller for a game like this, and I love that. And yeah, the sort of like dynamic of choosing dialogue and whatnot, because I will admit sometimes I was like, oh shit, I like picked something too soon. I literally restarted from checkpoint because I was like, oh, let me go and see what they were gonna say, because I think I said something too soon, and like you could even wait until like the last second to pick something, or you could say nothing at all, which I think is fine. That's something that I did when we were first talking with Swan's mom on the phone, because I'm like, she's just yapping, she's just talking, like let's just get this over. And also you could cut that conversation off very early too, but I decided to keep it going for a little bit longer just to see like where it went. But I do like how Donut has really expanded this genre in a sense, where it's like, yeah, like there's different ways to do sort of choices and dialogue that isn't just, like you said, railroad, very like static, where it's like, oh, okay, like you're talking to someone and then like all of these choices pop up kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess the only complaint I have is, besides the performance stuff, is like, I guess it doesn't feel like it's a lot of big choices, and I feel like it's kind of hard to have a lot of big choices because it's like, it's supposed to be in the past anyway, and obviously they reflected in the present to be like if you make a choice in the past, like, oh, this is what happens in the present now or whatever the fuck. But like I feel like right now I didn't feel like there was like a ton of big choices. It was mostly just getting to know the characters and like building their relationships, because that seems to be like the big thing in this game, because every time you pick a dialogue option you get like a little heart or whatever. And like Autumn I think I had like new friend. I don't think I kept fucking things up with her by accident last shit, sorry. But like Kat I had the most friendship with, and then Nora I had like BFF I think with her. So the game is very reliant on like that like relationship mechanic, which is pretty neat as well. And yeah, I'm very excited to see where the second episode is. Obviously we're probably gonna see more of the creepy stuff. I really like this game. Like it didn't really go too much into the horror stuff or whatever, but I thought it was going crazy for a second. But did you see like shadow people like every time you would like move the camera? Did you see like
sometimes I would see people like in the woods, and then I would zoom in with the camera. I was like, that was nothing. I never saw shadow people though. That might have been something that I just missed.
So like it was like right when you're like trying to find the cabin for the first time, I like saw just some dude like standing on like a tree trunk, and when I looked at it, it disappeared. I'm like, that was fucking weird. And then it happened again. Yeah, and then it happened again in the present, where you could look out when you're talking to Autumn, you're like looking straight at her. But if you look at the parking lot, you just see some shadow guy standing there, and as soon as you look at it, it disappeared. The shit was creepy as fuck. So I really like that little thing. It kind of ties into the like, oh, we're watching or whatever with the package or whatever. I don't know what that's about yet. So, but I really love that effect. That was very creepy. So I like that a lot.
I mean, it's just a bunch of teenage girls doing a bunch of bullshit, and then it's like, let's just take over this cabin that has been abandoned for like years and years. I'm like, I don't know if that's a good idea, but you know what? Do what you got to do.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm very interested to see how they're gonna do part 2, because it just seems like this was all like the setup and sort of like maybe like the prologue, if you even want to call it that. But yeah, I'm very happy with this game. I'm glad that Donut is making a game like this and also making it very affordable, because that's what I was kind of scared about, because when it was on like coming soon to PlayStation Store for like a while, I was like, how much is this game going to be? It better not be like, like $70 kind of thing, right? Especially if it is like a digital only release, but glad they charged it at a nice fair $40. And I think that, definitely worth it, I will say.
Yeah, and if you have PS Extra, like there was having a sale, so I was able to buy that for like $20. So I was able to get this game and the next part for like half the price. So pretty good for me, I guess. But yeah, I think this is like a really good game, probably the best vibes from a Donut game since Life is Strange 1, and I'm very excited to like play the second part, because it could be up there with the first Life is Strange, because it's really good. I really really liked it a lot. So good job, Donut.
Yeah, very very character focused.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the general news of things. First up, we missed the Thunderbolts big game trailer last episode. Sorry to anyone looking forward to us talking about that. But anyways, this is probably going to be the final trailer for the movie, if any. There probably might be one more. Anyways, yeah, Thunderbolts. I am very excited for this film. It just seems like that they are really building up Sentry as this villain, and also these ragtag of just like misfits of the MCU characters, just throwing them into this sort of Avengers style team up movie. And yeah, I'm excited for it, not just because I said earlier that screen testings have been doing very, very well for this film, but it just seems like a fun movie. And I think we need that. We need another grounded superhero movie from Marvel because, like I said, with Captain America, every single one has been, cosmic multiverse bullshit. And I think just keeping it to people who literally all of them, they just punch and shoot. I think that that's great.
Yeah, I think it really could be a fun time. Like the villain looks pretty cool with his like weird like just get vaporized powers. Like that's pretty neat. And the humor looks like it'll be pretty good. Just like the team up ragtag group of people that are just kind of like doing things together. It looks like it could be fun. I always like seeing Bucky, and that's gonna be fun to see him in a major role again. And yeah, I mean, I think the movie, it's either going to be pretty good or it's probably going to be fine. Like, it's probably going to be the same way I reacted to Brave New World. But I feel like I'm going to like it a bit more because it seems like it's going to lean more into the humor just because, the group dynamic and stuff. And I do like a lot of side characters. Like Red Guardian is always a fun time, so I'm happy he's back and stuff. Like John Walker is a cool character as well. So yeah, I guess we'll see once the movie actually comes out in like May 2nd. And, it's kind of like the last movie before Fantastic Four, which I am very excited for. So yeah. Definitely going to be either a movie or a surprisingly good movie. So we'll see when it comes out.
The start of the Marvel Renaissance, if you will.
Yeah. So, keeping up with the Marvel news, we got a bunch of it here. Marvel pauses development on Nova, Strange Academy, and Terra Inc. TV series. So these projects were never officially greenlit. And they're kind of like, I mentioned this before, but they're kind of like restructuring like how they're going to do TV shows with the MCU, especially with Daredevil Born Again coming out. So, they kind of want to focus on the TV shows being like, made more for TV shows than more like mini series or whatever the fuck. And I agree with that. I feel like I was just talking this with my brother as well, where it's like, I feel like the main problem with a lot of these TV shows is like, they don't feel like TV shows. Like, again, they do feel like just long movies. And, when I was watching Daredevil, it didn't feel like that. It does feel like this grander story and like they could do their own thing and stuff. Like, obviously it's going to be cool that I could connect to the MCU now, but I'm happy Born Again is still going to be focused on mostly Daredevil. Like that's his show, like, right. Like, and it's good because, it's focusing on him. Right. With things like the other, like WandaVision or whatever, like obviously they still focus on them, but it's still like, okay, how does this connect to the main MCU timeline? Because, it's not like its own show, right? Like it's not going to get its own seasons. Like Loki was probably the only one that felt like that. The rest of them like don't. So I'm happy to sort of like relooking at how they could do these TV shows and just focus it on making it a good TV show. That's why Andor was so good as well. Like Andor felt so different from a normal Star Wars thing because it wasn't concerned about like, okay, hey, we're a Star Wars thing. We have to connect it to the Skywalkers. We have to make it all of this. I think that's why like Obi-Wan Kenobi, like that show was kind of like because it was tied too much to like focus on like the Skywalker saga. While Andor is like really doing its own thing. I mean, even Acolyte was trying to do like mostly its own thing, and I know people were a big fan of that as well. So I feel like that's when the shows are good, is when they could just let the creators of these shows just do what they want in their universe. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, definitely a major point that people bring up a lot when it comes to the MCU with these television shows is that they all feel like one big long movie. Even with things like Miss Marvel and Hawkeye, I really do like those shows, but they do feel like one big long movie where, the extra runtime or like the extra episodes allow them to expand these characters further, which is good. They definitely benefited things like the Falcon and Winter Soldier, even though certain things people may not have liked within every series, and obviously the sort of, I guess, the one that people will continuously praise, which is Loki. Loki is a standout within the MCU television catalog for good reason. But now that they are now going into a much more TV serialized version of the MCU, I think that that's fine. I think Daredevil has saved sort of Marvel television in a sense where it's like, okay, yeah, like what made that show so good? So they just replicated it within Born Again, just judging by how people are talking about it now that the series is out for reviewers. It's like, okay, yeah, like it is a very good serialized show. So Marvel's like, okay, maybe we should have just been doing that from the beginning with our television series, which, is a fair point. So I think with Nova, Strange Academy, and Terror, it's like, okay, yeah, like would these fit into a Marvel series or would it actually fit better into a movie kind of thing? Right. Or are these series even worth producing or whatever, because I think Brad Winterbaum, he talks about it within the sort of interviews that he did for Daredevil Born Again, where it's like they're writing more than what they're producing, which makes sense because it's fucking Marvel and there's more eyes on them, so that's why things get leaked out and and what have you. So, for them to pause development on these projects, I think is good, especially with Nova. Nova has a lot of fans.
Yeah.
So I think for them to be like, okay, like what will work best for this character and sort of rethink it, I think that is going to be a good thing in the long run for Marvel Television. And yeah, even though like I did enjoy a majority of what Marvel did with the MCU television series, there were definitely a couple of them that I was just like, what are we doing here? I know people really do like Moon Knight, but for me personally, every time I think about that show, I'm like, what the fuck were they actually cooking? Because the finale, they just did not show the final fight. What are they doing? Anyways.
It was like the finale. I feel like Moon Knight is the most like I did enjoy Moon Knight a lot, and I like a lot of what it did, but I feel like that finale like really like made it like not as good. Also, I feel like it could have been like a lot more violent. Like I feel like if it was like more of a Daredevil type thing with like its violence instead of like keep cutting away. I know that was the point, but but I don't know. Not Daredevil. Moon Knight still had a lot of good things going for it, but yeah, it was kind of squandered a bit.
Yeah, and obviously looking at probably their biggest bomb within the MCU television catalog, Secret Invasion. It's like, okay,
that shit was ass, bro.
Like, bro, like we had this show that had the potential to, bring up all of these characters and sort of, continue that scroll storyline, and then it's like it's just straight up terrible. And you got like this cast, and like they retconned a couple of things, like with Rhodey, and also killing off freaking Maria Hill, and like that's just how she died. Like she just died within that show episode 1, and it was just like kind of just like brushed off and like not really like talked about that much. And it's so crazy that even happened. But I'm just glad that moving forward, especially with Daredevil Born Again, now that they are realizing that, hey, maybe we should just make these TV shows. So yeah, let's talk about Daredevil Born Again, because there has been a lot of stuff going on, because they have been releasing pretty much daily. Every single day, there's a new teaser, there's a new clip, there's something out there. There's a bunch of interviews out there now that they've talked to the press about the show, because the press got early access to the first 2 episodes ahead of time, so they were able to ask some questions about that. But yeah, I'm just so fucking excited for this show. Like I said, this is the most excited I felt about anything in a very, very long time. And for good reason. I've waited 5-6 years for a continuation to the series, and I'm glad we're getting it now. And yeah, you got anything to say, Damian, before I sort of rapid fire talk about what was talked about within the interviews?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm also very excited. I mean, after finally seeing season 3 after all these years and seeing the whole series, I could definitely see what everyone was talking about, and like how, like it's not overrated. Like if you think like, oh, it can't be that good, like definitely watch it. Like it definitely is that good, right? It just takes everything you would want from like a Daredevil show and puts it into the big, not big screen, but like into like a really great adaptation of the character. Everything about it is great, like the action, the story, like all the characters, like everything about this is just fantastic, and it just feels so far away from like the typical superhero stuff, which again we like, but like it just feels so unique in its own right? And it seems like from all these trailers and interviews that it seems it is going to be keeping that same spirit of the original series alive, which is great. Like I don't want it to be more sanitized or whatever just for like, oh, because it's in the MCU now. Like I want it to still keep doing its thing it's been really good at, right? And it seems like it is, right? So I'll let you talk about some of the other stuff here.
Okay, so in the Born Again interviews, obviously they can't really talk about spoilers or anything like that, but there were certain things that we learned, especially from Brad Winterbaum, who is the executive producer at Marvel, especially Marvel Television. So first up, Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio constantly were talking about the sort of duality between Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk and their sort of darker half, and how that's going to be explored. And, the thing that I realized as these interviews were sort of happening is that, oh yeah, like this is the first, I guess, like, or like, compared to like season 1 of Daredevil on Netflix compared to Born Again season 1, it's like, okay, yeah, like actually Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk are like co-stars, as opposed to like when the first season, it took a while for Wilson Fisk to appear, but also he was more like a side character kind of thing.
Yeah.
But even then, he still got like the sort of development and the screen time for that character. So you know what? It's very nice to see them actually play with these two characters and really have them butt heads with each other. Charlie, he talks about this tragic moment that happens at the start of episode 1. People are very concerned about Foggy Nelson.
Foggy Nelson.
So, I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. the reason why people are talking about that moment a lot is because whether it does happen or not, because I'm still huffing the copium that it's gonna be one of the new love interests that Matt brings into his life, but it seems like that they're gonna be sticking around longer, so it might be Foggy. I don't fucking know. Anyways, I think the reason why people are talking about this choice a lot is because in every adaptation of Daredevil within the comics, Foggy is a consistent character in Matt's life. Karen Page, when she gets killed by Bullseye, which was a sort of like misdirection that they did within season 3, where if you rewatch that scene, it's always focused on the Billy Club, it's focused on Karen, and then it sort of does that fake away where Father Lantham actually dies. So people are upset because Foggy's always around. So, and there's also still stories with Foggy that can be explored between him and Matt, etc., etc. So, I'm very concerned exactly how that's going to be pulled off. I'm huffing the copium that he might be dead and then he'll be brought back later or something like that. I don't know. How do you feel about that choice potentially happen when we watch it, I guess within less than a week now?
Like, I do feel like it would probably have to be him, because in all the trailers, you only see Foggy in, like, that first walking segment.
Yes.
Like, that's it. Like, Karen you see a few times in the other trailers, but, like, Foggy is, like, nowhere to be seen. So I'm hoping he either gets just hurt and, like, he's just in the hospital or something, or they are going to kill him, right? Like, that'll be a really big shakeup, and it'll be, like... it does suck because it's something that fans really want to see. Like, obviously, I can't really speak for that because, I just started watching the series. But, I know, like, people like you and my brother, like, they've been waiting years to see all these characters back again. They made the Matt, like, the Murdoch and Nelson and Paige firm and shit, right? Like, you want to see them all together for at least a little bit. So I'm hoping we get to see them at least interact a bit before one of them goes. But it does seem like Foggy will have something happen to him, and it will, like, kind of snap Matt to, like, do something he's gonna regret, because they keep repeating that throughout all the interviews and all the trailers. Like, he probably is gonna end up, like, killing someone by accident or something, right? So that does just seem like something that will happen. And I guess from my prediction, maybe Bullseye, like, breaks out, and maybe there's like a flashback, and maybe, like, Bullseye is the one that kills one of them, just like in the comics or whatever. But I guess we'll see, and maybe he just kills him off. So, but again, we don't know, all speculation. But it ain't looking good for Foggy believers. So
because apparently the opening is that it starts with them three, and then the Bullseye fight, and then whatever tragic event, there's a 1 year gap, and then it leads into the king, or not the king, the freaking Mayor Fisk and all that stuff with Kingpin. And then Charlie, he said that he's excited for fans to see episode 8, and then Vincent said episode 9, which 9 is the finale. I think in other interviews they've talked about episodes 4 and 6 as well. So it seems like that there's a lot of great episodes for this series. So obviously I cannot wait. And then sort of the things that Brad Winterbaum sort of confirmed and sort of talked about. So for example, he does reconfirm that the Defenders show, including Daredevil, obviously, are now canon to the MCU. So they may pop in and out. Yep. They may pop in and out or whatnot, because season 2 starts filming today in New York City, and apparently Kristen Ritter, who played Jessica Jones, is there now. So obviously fans are putting the pieces together, and she has been training at the gym for the past month or so, or a few months, whatever. So people are hoping that Jessica Jones is back. No Okoye series. That was something that one of the interviewers at Pay or Wait asked. No Moon Knight season 2, but he will return in some way in the future. And once again, sort of reiterating that idea of having their TV shows actually be TV shows, and actually have them be yearly television series, have a new season every single year as they try their best. Because obviously, if you look at entertainment as a whole, whenever a series has yearly formats, it's like very rare. Like there's like barely any, I would say, like in like the mainstream like network television kind of thing. It's like The Bear and Albert Elementary, but those are like shows that you could do yearly. Yeah, everything else was SFX, like everything else was like Game of Thrones and whatnot. It's going to take several years, Last of Us, etc. So those shows are going to take a lot longer. But with something like this, I think that they want to stick to a yearly format, which is good. And even with something like Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which we will talk about at the end of the show, that's something that they also want to do yearly. He reconfirms that Spider-Man cannot appear in Daredevil Born Again because Sony has like the TV rights for long form content, aka like the like the noir series that they are currently making at Amazon, but they can still produce 30-minute TV shows like Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. And one last thing, Winterbaum, he said that he would love to see the Hand and the Assassin's Guild in season 3 and beyond if they are even able to get there, which I'm pretty sure Marvel wants to continue this show because everyone from the cast and crew, they all want to continue to see how these characters are within, not just within the greater MCU, but just have more stories about Matt Murdock, Wilson Fisk, etc.
Yeah, I mean, it would be cool to see like Elektra again. Like, I highly doubt she's like dead after the events of Defenders. So yeah, like highly doubtful. So it would be cool to see her back and maybe like the Hand do some other Hand stuff. I just hope it's like, a bit better than how Defenders handled it, but like, I'll still be down for it. I know, like, again, the Hand is like a big thing for Daredevil, so I wouldn't be opposed to them coming back. And, it's kind of exciting having all the Netflix, we already knew they were all canon, but getting like reconfirmed, like, yes, like Defenders, like everything that happened is canon. So, it doesn't feel like you wasted your time watching all these shows or whatever. And, if Jessica Jones or whatever, like, or all the other ones gets like a new series, I probably will watch. Like Jessica Jones, I probably was going to watch anyway. Probably Punisher as well, because he's going to come back as well. Just from this and what they confirm later. So I would like to watch those shows once their like series gets confirmed or once they start appearing more in Daredevil once again. But yeah, again, Daredevil, it's looking really good, and I'm really hoping to do nail it. At least from all the clips and trailers they have shown, it seems it really keeps the same vibe of the original series intact. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of big things that happen in this series. Like potentially Foggy dying, which would be very sad. I hope it doesn't happen, but for the drama, it probably would be pretty good. So. But yeah, and again, it's a shame like Spider-Man won't show up. I mean, I'm happy we see some interaction with them in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. That's enough for me at the moment, and probably the closest we're gonna get until Spider-Man 4, if Daredevil does show up in Spider-Man 4. But this whole fucking Sony shit is still like a lingering annoyance with Spider-Man.
I mean,
so
with, I guess, I think some people hate. I mean, obviously, everyone hates that this sort of Marvel Sony deal is going on because it always hinders Spider-Man from being in the greater, wider MCU without Sony's approval. That's like very, very understandable. But when you like look back on everything, sort of like what Sony has done with the character and sort of how they brought Spider-Man,
Spider-Verse. So
we still got Spider-Verse, and even just like from the very start, the Sam Raimi films, all of that stuff. We wouldn't have. Those comic book movies and all of that other stuff. So, it does suck that Spider-Man could probably never appear within Daredevil Born Again unless they pull some ties with Sony, give them a couple mil or something like that. I don't know. But, I hope that they are able to interact at some point on the big screen in costume, not just, a fucking No Way Home cameo that really no one knew about at the time. Like, who the fuck is this guy, kind of thing. I hope that Spider-Man 4 or even Spider-Man 5, I will fucking wait. I just want Charlie Cox and Tom Holland at some point to interact with each other in costume and, help each other. Because I think, my theory, I talked about it before we started recording, but, my theory is that something at the end of season 2 of Daredevil Born Again is going to lead into a Spider-Man movie, which I think would make the most sense for the MCU and would make the most sense for the character because, this series takes place in fucking New York. And like Daredevil is obviously a New York based superhero, but also is Spider-Man. And Spider-Man is the other big red superhero running around, saving people in New York City. So why wouldn't these two characters interact at some point? And obviously they're very much close together within the comics. And I think fans like myself would just love to see them interact on the big screen.
Yeah. As it's been I feel like weirdly enough, like I feel a lot of the MCU Spider-Man movies like feel so detached from New York in general. So like whenever I watch like the Daredevil stuff, like, oh yeah, this feels like that New York like centric superhero that, we expect from something like Spider-Man, right? So it'll be nice if Spider-Man 4 does focus on the more grounded stuff with Daredevil. And and some of these clips is really cool that they are filming on location in New York, which feels weird to say, but like I know I forget which Spider-Man one it was, where it's like they had a green screen like a street in New York. I'm just like, come on.
But that was because of like COVID and everything like that. So like I'll let that slide. But yeah, it is very cool to see Daredevil Born Again to be filming on the streets of New York, even if it is, sometimes at the detriment of, like hundreds of thousands of dollars that they got to get permits and whatnot for. I think
it looks good though.
It's worth it. It's fucking worth it, especially for a show like this, because, I talked about it within my video and article where it's like, this is the first Marvel Cinematic Universe thing that they're touching that wasn't theirs to begin with. So they have to fucking get it right. And I think they did with just the amount of things that they've been releasing with teasers, trailers, etc. They have a lot of confidence in this shit. And I love that. So it just makes me very secure as a fan, and seeing other people react to the series, whether it is just the first 2 episodes or the whole series now, I'm very happy to say that, Daredevil's back. We keep fucking winning.
Yep. So now we can only wait until the series comes out, and we could start doing our discussions on that.
Yeah.
So next we got some more Marvel stuff. So John Bernthal's Punisher will return in Marvel Studios special presentation. Well, in a Marvel Studios special presentation. That's a mouthful. So he's going to be co-writing it, and alongside the director of Ronaldo Marcus Green. Is also going to be releasing next year. A lot of things releasing next year. Same year as Daredevil Born Again season 2. So I'm sure we're going to, because Punisher, this form of Punisher first showed up, I believed, in season 2 of Daredevil. So it kind of makes sense how they kind of piggybacking off it again, because he's going to be showing up. This is not a spoiler, by the way. He does show up in the trailers. Punisher is here, which is really good. I really love his character arc in season 2 of Daredevil. I haven't watched his own series yet. I probably will at some point, but just him in season 2 of Daredevil was great. His interactions with Karen were really good, especially towards the end. Like I really enjoyed that. Sort of his dynamic between Matt's philosophy and then Punisher's philosophy, how to deal with problems. I think he was just a very solid character in season 2, and again, was my favorite part about season 2. Like the hand stuff was fine, and I like Elektra, but like I thought the Punisher stuff was like really good in the season 2 of Daredevil. There you go.
Yeah. I mean, John Bernthal is such a great fucking actor. He's so freaking good. He's so freaking good. Obviously, he got his really big jump off of The Walking Dead.
Yep, shame, bro.
and most recently within The Bear, he's really good in that show. So for him to be passionate enough about this character to come back within Daredevil Born Again, and now he's going to do his own Marvel Studios special presentation, and he's also going to be co-writing it. He's obviously very protective, just as Charlie and Vincent are about their characters. He loves the Punisher. So I wonder how this Marvel Studios presentation is going to be. Is it going to take place sometime between Born Again? Is it going to take place sometime after? Obviously, we don't know the timeline of everything just yet, but whatever happens, I am excited for it. I cannot wait to see what this has in store for us. But yeah, I think Marvel should just do more special presentations. Maybe that's what they should have done with some of these, MCU introduction characters instead of a long running television series. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, maybe they could do this to also reintroduce some of the other Defender characters as well, to sort of see how they're doing, and now the greater, wider MCU kind of thing, right? So
yeah, Defenders are back. Let's go. Good thing I watched it. My time wasn't wasted.
It was not. So let's move on to the next bit of news within entertainment. We got Avatar 7 Havens announced. This is the next Avatar animated series, finally a sequel to Korra. This is made by the series creators, and they are back for a 22 or 26, I should say, episodes, sort of book 1, book 2 season. It's going to be 2D animated, and it's going to follow a young Earthbender who is the new Avatar. So yeah, I mean, I'm glad that we are getting a new Avatar series, but on top of that, that they have a plan, that they actually have the certain amount of episodes structured out, because when you watch Korra, to its detriment, it was not planned as a multi-season thing. It was planned as a one-off season, which is why the first season feels so self-contained. And then they were like, oh, wait, Viacom was like, fuck, we can make money off this shit. So then they started producing season 2, and then it got a greenlit for season 3, and I think even a season 4. So, they didn't have the plan of making all 4 of those seasons, but that's just how it happened. So the fact that they're coming off strong and being like, hey, yeah, this is a new series creators, and also it's going to have 2 seasons. Okay, sure. I'm all in for it, and also announcing it as 2D animation is pretty exciting. Obviously, I think that is such a core part of the Avatar series now, especially now that people are still rewatching it to this day, or even watching it for the first time, where it's like, yeah, it's like a very impressive kids cartoon that's 2D animated, but also has really strong characters, really strong writing, etc. So yeah, I'm excited to see how this pans out, because obviously they formed this Avatar Studios thing years ago, and we haven't really seen much from it yet. So I hope that this is, something that obviously will deliver for the fans, but also just have great stories and great, animation and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, with this and the other animated Avatar movie with the old gang, it seems like we're finally starting to see the stuff that they've been producing for all these years, and I'm very excited for it. I'm really excited to see this new story with like this new Earthbender avatar. Obviously, more of the synopsis, they give like, I guess Korra fucked up or something, so now like everyone thinks the avatar is like a harbinger of doom rather than like a peace bringer, which seems pretty interesting. I'm sad to keep dunking on Korra all the time, but that's just how it is. And again, I feel like Korra's like, reputation is like, I mean, it's like, I'm not gonna tell people how to feel about Korra or whatever, but I do feel like Nickelodeon and stuff like really fucked it over just with that season stuff, where it's like they basically have to write everything as a self-contained thing, so you don't feel like you're getting like, nothing by the end of that season if they don't get another like a renewed season or whatever. And I feel like it just kind of hurt that series a lot, because I thought the first season was very good. Second season was like whatever. I like the Sparewood stuff, but like it's like whatever. And then like season 3s and 4 were like kind of like were like blended together for me. So
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I feel like Korra got really hurt by that, and I feel like now that they have their own dedicated studio, they know how popular Avatar is now. They know they could get away with like, okay, we could do like a long form thing and not like cut it off in like the middle or whatever, right? So I think this series is gonna be good. I want to see how it looks first, animation wise and stuff. That would be really neat to see, because I think the original Avatar and Korra both have pretty good animation. So hopefully this one has as well. And yeah, I'm just excited for it. I'm happy that we're finally moving to see like the future of Avatar now, rather than just getting like little crumbs or, like the live action thing in Netflix, which I didn't really care about. I'm like, I just want to see the new animated stuff. So very happy that we're finally seeing like the next stage of Avatar,
Yeah.
All right, so we have a lot of stuff, media stuff actually. Last of Us Season 2 is going to be premiering April 13th. So, we already talked about the trailer the first time and all what we think would happen and stuff. So, if you haven't played Last of Us Part 2, get ready for a lot of shakeups in the character department, if you know what I'm saying. But honestly, I felt like when did the first season of Last of Us came out? It didn't feel that long ago. It probably was, but like, it didn't feel that long ago. And we're already getting season 2, which is honestly a pretty good turnaround considering.
It started releasing January 2023 and ended in March. So
yeah, so like it was like a pretty fast time to get the season 2 up. So like, I'm so used to TV shows taking like fucking 5 years like and make a new season now. So having like one that's only like a year and a half or 2 years away really isn't too bad. And the first season was fantastic, right? Like we had nothing but good things to say about it. I mean, there's parts of it where I felt like it was better than Last of Us Part 1, the game, just because it was able to focus so much on its story, which is, the best thing about Last of Us, right? Is that the story and the characters and the relationship between Joel and Ellie, right? Like I think they nailed all of that stuff. All the actors gave it the all and they did such a great job. So I'm sure season 2 is going to continue in that path. And, especially because Part 2 is such a controversial game, I'm really excited to see how they adapted and maybe either make it better or make it their own, just like they did with season 1. So, but yeah, I have full faith that they could do a good job with this season of Last of Us. And I'm excited either way,
Yeah, April 13th, pretty close, not that bad. I think Daredevil will still be on the air for a little bit, but, another sort of thing to be excited for within the TV adaptation world. Last of Us in and of itself, I think, is a multi-million-dollar franchise, and I'm glad that the fact that they were able to get this season 2 out within 2 years. It's definitely not ideal. I guess like back in my day kind of thing, but considering this is a grounded show, but it has still a lot of VFX stuff and all that mumbo jumbo. I'm glad that we are now here, and I wonder how long Part 2 story is going to last. They've talked about it multiple times. They don't want to pigeonhole themselves to an episode count or season count or anything like that. So I just can't wait to see how they adapt it, what they change, what they keep, what certain things they may nod over to like what was actually within the game, like frame by frame kind of thing. Last of Us season 1 is like insanely good in a way that it literally enhanced the base game, which was already good as is, but just made that story so much better and so much more fleshed out that I think, it made people, maybe even turn some people into gamers in a sense, excited to see how this pans out.
It also helps because, Last of Us is a more story-centric game. Obviously, there's a lot of tense moments in that game, but I feel like it's very, like, approachable for people that are, like, more into movies or TV to, like, play it. if you want to have a more interactive, that's why I think Sony's business model works so well, is because people that might not be like hardcore gamers, like they could play these games because they have a lot of accessibility options. The gameplay is very railroaded a lot of the time, so you don't have to be like too crazy with game mechanics or whatever, and it kind of lends itself to be like, oh, okay, it's like I'm playing like a movie. I know people use that as like a mean thing to say, but I do think it's a good way to get people into games. Same with Nintendo, when they have the more simplest, like the mechanics are simple, but like there's a lot of things going on under the hood. Like Sony games are kind of like the same thing, except like like they look really good, but like mechanically they're a lot simpler about really letting on, so, but whatever.
Yeah,
that's like a whole other thing.
All right, so now we got a Minecraft movie, the final trailer. Honestly, I fucking love this trailer just because it is just it's so goofy and stupid, and you could really see what the movie's going for, even though this movie's probably gonna be fucking terrible. I'm gonna love it. I'm gonna love it. Like I wasn't like Damian, where I was there when like Minecraft was like in like its Renaissance era, sort of like at the start. I mean, I feel like Minecraft is always fucking trending because it's just a timeless game. Like the movie sort of shows like you could do anything, create anything you want, and as someone who is, I would say, like a casual Minecraft fan, I just cannot wait to see what the fuck they do in this movie, because it does seem like a very simple plot, sort of like the sort of Nether, sort of trying to take away all of the creativity and whatnot. It just seems like this movie is going to be really bad and really stupid, and I'm gonna love it.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely gives that like, I hope it's like so bad it's good vibe or whatever, or it doesn't take itself too seriously, because like I don't know how the fuck else you're supposed to do a Minecraft movie. Like you said, I have been with Minecraft for a very long time, ever since it went on like alpha or whatever. You have to buy it on a really sketchy website and stuff, and I'm like, Mom, I want this. And like, like you sure? It's like I was like, yeah, I do. So yeah, I've been playing Minecraft for a very, very long time. I kind of, I went through all the stages of the alpha, the beta, when everyone thought it was really cringe, and then when everyone thought it was really cool. So it's like been a whole thing. So it's kind of like crazy to see it get like adapted on the big screen, because I mean, it is one of the best selling video games of all time, I believe. Like I think like behind Tetris or whatever, or maybe it beat Tetris at this point. I don't even know. But either way, like it's crazy to see it get a big screen adaptation. And again, I don't really know how the fuck you were supposed to do it besides this. So whatever. I'm sure everyone wanted like an animated movie or whatever. But even then, like, what's the plot gonna be, right? Like, so yeah, like Nether invading the overworld, I guess. Sure, why not? Like, I don't really know what else you would do. I guess you get like the end or whatever, but it's not like there's a lot of lore in Minecraft to begin with. So, and yeah, it just looks like a silly movie. It looks like they're gonna have like some isekai shenanigans, or that like the characters come in, and then you got like the villager in the real world. So I guess like the game world is leaking to the real world. And the only thing I've seen on Twitter is the villager getting fucking hit by the car, and it's very funny every time I look at it. So that's been a lot of fun. So yeah, it definitely looks like a fun movie to watch with a group of friends and kind of like shit on it, but also probably have a good time, right? So it's probably gonna be 1 to 2 jokes that land, but it's not trying to be serious. And if you go into that movie expecting like I want this faithful adaptation like the fucking Last of Us, like you're not gonna get that, right? So yeah, it looks like they're having a good time. So I guess we'll see when the movie actually comes out. All right, so next, and I believe this is the last trailer we have, is Andor season 2. So this kind of just dropped, after fucking forever. I don't remember when Andor season 1 came out. It's finally coming out. It's coming out April 22nd, and this trailer looks pretty good. It just shows where the characters are at. There's a lot of things that happened at the end of season 1, and now they're like, I guess, going the full freedom fighter route, because that's how it was in what was it called? Rogue One. In Rogue One, yep. Right? So like they're going like get the Death Star plans or whatever. And I guess this is all leading up to that plan, right? So it'd be kind of cool to see at the end of the season how it would lead into Rogue One, in like sort of like, because they're all gonna fucking die. Spoiler alert if you haven't watched Rogue One, but that's just kind of how it works. So Andor season 1 really surprised a lot of people with how good it was. It felt so detached from what Star Wars usually is. And again, that's kind of just how like Daredevil feels as well. I know I could like, how can I make this about Daredevil, but I kind of have to bring it up. Daredevil was also this really gritty, grounded show that didn't feel at all like a Marvel like production, and Andor felt the exact same way. It felt like this very gritty, grounded Star Wars show where things like the stakes felt real. There wasn't like forced to help you. I mean, obviously it's a thing that exists, but like none of the characters know how to use it or whatever. So they all had to rely on their wits and like their cleverness to like get out of all the situations they get themselves into, and just makes for a really compelling show. It's a very dense show, so I really do feel like I have to watch season 1 again to like fully appreciate when season 2 comes out. But yeah, man. Like again, I was talking to Travis before the podcast. The whole prison break sequence in season 1 was like amazing, and that has really stuck with me, throughout the years. So really excited to see how season 2 hopefully lands on its head, because I know Star Wars has been in a big limbo in terms of like just stuff coming out. Like I know people are really disappointed in Mandalorian season 3, Acolyte getting canceled, Skeleton Crew, I feel like no one fucking watched that show. So like, it's like kind of like it's been kind of a mess besides Visions. Visions is always peak and amazing. So hopefully Andor season 2 could kind of get Star Wars like back on track, and hopefully like, the Star Wars division at Disney could like really like, okay, let's just make shows in the Star Wars universe while dealing with all the fucking Skywalker shit, and just let them be shows, like I said. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I watched a couple of episodes of Skeleton Crew, but I don't remember much other than it was just, a bunch of kids doing dumbass shit. Yeah. Anyways, Andor, the first season came out at the tail end of 2022, so now we're in 2025, and yeah, I mean, it is pretty crazy that this show is finally coming out. The trailer itself, it doesn't really give us much. It shows us a couple cool action sequences, Diego Luna, sort of doing that iconic smirk, I guess, or whatever. It just seems like we're getting more of what we got within the first season, because now they actually know what the fuck this show's about, which is just like, sort of the rebellion becoming sort of like an actual thing. And they are releasing these episodes within three batches kind of thing. So first 3, next 3, etc. And I believe there's going to be a time jump between each act, if you will, each 3 episode chunk. So, it's going to be cool to see how it leads up to Rogue One and sort of how we get to that point. But yeah, I mean, I just loved Andor for what it was, even though I don't necessarily remember much of it. All I know is that speech at the end by Andy Serkis in that fucking Prison Break was just fucking insane. And I was like, okay, yeah, like this show is on a goddamn another level. Like no one expected it to be this good, but it is this good. So, I'm glad that they really took their time to make this show what it is. And I hope that it sticks on its feet, and that it is a worthy successor to the first season.
Yeah, and again, crazy to have Rogue One, which is a movie I thought like it was okay, ended up being like, it's like, wow, this is actually really good. Like, who thought Andor would be the savior of Star Wars? Very random, but hey, glad it is.
All right, now we got some gaming news, some sad gaming news at that. So first up, we got Thaddeus Sasser. I hope I said his name right. Marvel game director based in Seattle. He has been laid off alongside the rest of the Seattle-based team. So yeah, I mean, we talk about Marvel Rivals here and there on the show, and it is literally the biggest live service game right now, I would say, just because it is nice, hot, shiny, all that stuff. But for some reason, NetEase was like, all right, I think we're able to sustain ourselves within their development team in China. So they just let all of the people within Seattle go. So yeah, that is absolutely insane. And sort of the state of the games industry, which we will talk about more later, is just at another level, right? Because there's legit zero job security within this field, where you create one of the biggest, most successful live service games out on the market right now, and it's like not even 6 months later, you're let go. And it's like, all right, what are they supposed to do now? Because it's like, okay, I mean, hopefully they could find another job, but do they want to find another job within an industry like this that is so volatile, so unsafe, and so unsecure that it's like, am I going to be able to pay the bills this month kind of thing, right? So, I hope that everyone affected by these layoffs are, able to find another home at some point, whether it is within the industry or not. I just wish them the best of luck, because it is crazy that NetEase just let them go, especially the fucking game director. Like he pretty much made everything the way it is, I would say. I guess that's how the game director role goes. I don't fucking know. But, he's probably a very key person as to why Marvel Rivals is as successful as it is.
Yeah, it was like co-developed. So it was like the NetEase team in China, which have their own game director, and this is the Western like game director, and they both helped when the game is like in full production, so like in their not live service phase. So I guess NetEase's like decision was just like, well, we already launched the game, we don't need extra manpower, so goodbye, and then like laid them off. Also, it doesn't help. There was other news with NetEase where they were they basically like stepped away from the entire gaming division, and there was also like news that they weren't even gonna like finish Marvel Rivals because the royalties were so expensive. Like they weren't gonna have Spider-Man, they were gonna have some other fucking bullshit hero because like he's too expensive, but then they ended up getting him anyway. And that's probably why they started laying off a bunch of people, because the royalties were like a lot from Marvel Rivals, even if it is the most successful like live service game in a while. But still, that's no excuse, right? Like again, Marvel Rivals is like one of the biggest live service launches I've seen in a long time. Like so many of these games have like came out and just failed, even from big name companies like Sony with Concord. That game failed in like a week, right? Like you don't really see big hero shooters or any like real like live service games come out to such huge audiences like right off the bat, right? So and just letting go like the whole Western team is like just fucking awful. Like again, it's just like you make a bad game, you get laid off. You make a game that's good but didn't sell well enough, you get laid off. You make a good game that sells a shit ton, you get fucking laid off. It's like, where do you win, right? So it's just to the point where it just feels exhausting, where it's like you're not even rewarded for doing a good job, right? Like you're not even rewarded for successfully launching a live service game. You know, it launched with basically like no launch issues. Everyone loved it. People loved the art style. People loved the gameplay. You know, it was basically like, you know, very positive across the board, and just like, oh no, you're laid off. You know, we're not making enough money. So yeah, it's just such a shame that this is just where we're at with the gaming industry at the moment, at least in the AAA market, where it's like you can't really do anything, and you're kind of just tools to be like set aside after it's done. Like they just lay you off for like anything if they're not making enough money. So yeah, it's been a very depressing time for the gaming industry in terms of that, because this news story broke out and everyone was just like, what the fuck, right? Like what you can't even defend it, because it's just like they have a shit ton of money. Marvel Rivals is making a shit ton of money, and it's like, nope, not good enough. So yeah, very, very unfortunate to see. And I guess we can talk about the next thing, because it's right, like talking about the layoffs is the Warner Brothers whole thing. You know, Jason Schreier broke out with the article announcing that People Make Games, Monolith, and one other support studio will all close down. So I think it was People Make Games. I think that's what they're called. The people that made Multiverses, they're done. They got closed down. Makes sense, because Multiverses was already getting shut down. Monolith, you know, famous for the Shadow of War game, Shadow of Mordor, and working on the new Wonder Woman game. All of that was canceled as well. And one other support studio was canceled as well. So obviously the big news is the Wonder Woman game getting canceled. You know, that was announced like 3 years ago at this point. And now,
4.
you know, what happened? 4?
Yeah, 2021.
Holy shit. So 4 years ago it was announced, and now it's gone, right? So you know, all that hard work gone. You know, I heard you know, some developers were talking on Twitter saying they were very excited for this game to come out. You know, they put a lot of work into it. You know, they want to make sure the story was really good, very faithful to Wonder Woman, and now all that shit's gone too. So you know, it kind of leaves Wonder Woman with nothing again, which sucks. She got like one good movie recently, and it wasn't the new one. It was the first one, because 1984 was really bad, and then she had the one game, and now, you know, they ain't doing anything with that either. So, you know, Warner Brothers has just such a bad pattern of just closing all these studios down. You know, they just close things down all the fucking time. They cancel movies all the time, get those tax breaks. You know, like Warner Brothers is straight garbage, and I don't know what their business model is anymore. It's like, you know, you guys are supposed to like produce things, right? You can't just keep canceling things for tax breaks and just like, oh, this is leaking too much money, I guess it's over. So and yeah, it just sucks. You know, like Monolith, you know, people love those 2 Mordor games. You know, the Nemesis system was so famous because of those games, and this Wonder Woman game was supposed to use fully utilize that Nemesis system in the game, and now it's just gone, right? So very unfortunate to see. I know people were very excited for the Wonder Woman game, just, you know, for the character, and just because people were a big fan of Monolith as a game studio. So again, really shitty that this is happening, but here we go again, a bunch of people losing their jobs, you know, over dumb bullshit. So
yeah, it is insane that this even happened. You know, just seeing another sort of massive layoff within gaming is always disheartening, and obviously from Warner Brothers is still disheartening, but also not surprising from them with their track record of sort of canceling movies and all that other stuff, where, you know, they were just like, like this product isn't good enough, we're not even gonna release it, it's fully filmed, it's fully finished, we're just gonna cancel it, get that tax break or whatever. So, you know, after the sort of Multiverses sort of implosion, if you will, and now it's like, we're gonna get rid of Players First, but also we're just gonna get rid of fucking Monolith. Monolith Productions. It is insane that they are getting rid of that studio who created the Nemesis system, which is so famous within those games. Even though I haven't played them, I know that a lot of people liked the sort of Shadow of Mordor games because of that system. And it fucking sucks that they patented it. And apparently it's patented until fucking 2035. So fucking stupid. The fact that they even got away with that is crazy. And, you know, the Wonder Woman game, we're not going to see anything from this until someone fucking leaks it. Until someone leaks whatever stuff that they had for the game, because apparently it was supposed to be like a live service thing again.
Yes,
like
I heard,
these goddamn fucking companies keep trying to push this goddamn live service shit into our throats for whatever reason, even though people just want good games. And I think the live service stuff 9 times out of 10 just gets in the way of it, and it does not ever enhance the product whatsoever. Obviously, if you make a game that is intended to be just live service, and sure, go for it. But obviously, that's going to be fucking a lot of money. Just look at Concord, whatever goddamn number people threw out or whatever. You know, it cost them millions and millions of dollars, and they didn't even give it like a month for it to try to smooth itself out. They kind of were just like, all right, we're just going to pull the plug early, whatever. So yeah, it is absolutely crazy to see what Warner Brothers is doing with their games division and just in general within their sort of entertainment as a whole, right? Like, what are they going to do? Apparently, they're going to try to refocus on like Harry Potter, Mortal Kombat, DC, and Game of Thrones. So, you know, obviously those are very, very big IPs that they have, and whatever comes next for those, I hope that, you know, the people that are working on those games aren't necessarily thinking twice about like their fucking job or like thinking about like a plan B, because that is not how you want to work within any industry. Just sort of looking over your shoulder and thinking about like, am I next? You know, sort of like that sort of saying and everything like that. So yeah, you know, absolutely crazy. And I have no idea what they're going to do moving forward other than, like they said, focus on those key franchises. But even then, it's like, it feels like a lot of their decisions behind the scenes are just not making sense within gaming as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, what we really need to do is like have more unionized like gaming like things and like just better work reform. But you know, considering you know who's in office right now, I doubt any of that's going to happen at the moment. So we'll see though. Like that's definitely something like gaming should be striving for. Is like having like better union power and stuff. Because things like this shouldn't be able to happen. Like especially with the Marvel Rivals thing. Like if you're making like if your game is like a success, you shouldn't be able to lay people off like that. That's like insane. But regardless, it's still awful. Hopefully all these people are able to get something in the gaming industry or just, you know, not, because at this point I wouldn't. But hopefully everyone's able to find good jobs and could get out of this okay, because shit sucks. And you know, I'm sure this is not going to be the last time we talk about layoffs this year, because you know it's been a running trend. So yeah,
and you know, it just discourages anyone from trying to even get into the games industry that want to develop games, that want to make games. And I'm sure a lot of those people are just becoming indie developers and just like doing it on their own. But obviously, if you want to work on like these big IP franchises, it's kind of like you gotta join one of these gaming companies and you gotta worry about what's gonna happen next for my job, kind of thing, right? So yeah, you know, it's crazy and it is insane that this continues to happen, but we can only hope for the best moving forward.
All right,
so we got Pokemon Presents, and I'll let Damian fucking handle this one because I honestly have no idea. I did watch Legends ZA, which I will comment on.
Yes.
But Damian, just run through us Pokemon Presents and what you thought of it.
So Pokemon Presents, you know, usually they do this every year for Pokemon Day, you know, usually the last bit of February. And, you know, we did the standard stuff. They showed all the mobile game news and the actual news, but you know there was some good stuff in here. You know the Netflix Pokemon show Concierge is getting to season 2. That's gonna be in September. That's that really cute one that's like sort of like stop motion. I didn't watch the first season, but it does look really cute. Maybe I will. And then after that, all the mobile stuff. You know, like Pokemon Go, Pokemon Masters EX, Pokemon Unite with new characters, Pokemon TCG, the Pocket thing. You got the new trading card games, which I'm sure people are gonna get excited for that, for the Mega Evolution stuff coming out this year actually. But and of course at the end we finally get the actual gaming news. And there's 2 big ones: is Pokemon Champions. So this is gonna be for Switch and for phones or iOS. I don't know if it's for anything else, but right now it's just iOS, I believe. And there's gonna be a battle focus game. So think Pokemon Stadium, Pokemon Revolution. I guess Pokemon Coliseum, but it doesn't have the adventure mode. And honestly, this is something that I think the competitive Pokemon community kind of really needs, is like a battle simulation that's not Pokemon Showdown. As this one is able to let you pull Pokemon from Pokemon Home, and you're able to just do just battles, just competitive battles. It's probably gonna have its own ranking system and all that good stuff. But the most interesting thing in the trailer, they didn't really show a lot, but it showed that you could terrestrialize and you can mega evolve. So like those are two gimmicks from two different generations of Pokemon, and usually you're only allowed like one of those gimmicks per generation. So it seems like they're gonna bring in all the battle gimmicks from the other games. So it wouldn't surprise me if we see Z moves or what's the other fucking thing? I think that's it, right? Z moves. I feel like I'm missing one. Oh, Gigantamaxing. There you go. Gigantamaxing from Gen 8. Like I'm sure like that will probably show up, and that should really spice up the competitive sort of Pokemon format. As I personally actually really enjoy watching competitive Pokemon. Like that shit's really hard to be good at, so it's really cool to see other people be really good at it. And I'm sure them adding all the gimmicks to it will be really chaotic, but right now it looks like it's just Mega Evolution and terrestrializing. So I wonder how that's going to work and how it's going to kind of affect the competitive Pokemon scene in general, since they usually use the new generation of Pokemon as the base. So I wonder if now the new generation of Pokemon is just going to be for just adding new Pokemon to this battle simulation mode, and they're going to be using this as the new base. I don't really know, but it's pretty interesting. It seems like a lot of more competitive Pokemon people are very excited for this. I am as well. I mean, again, competitive Pokemon is very hard, and it's something I've never been good at, but it's cool to see it get like a proper place to like exist, right? So this is really good news for people like that. And the fact that it's on iPhones and stuff seems like you just play it casually too if you want to just like play at work or whatever. So that honestly pretty cool announcement. Though it did debated me, where it's just like, oh, they're playing on like the Game Boys, on the GBAs. Is it finally coming? Are we getting the old games on modern systems? But probably not. We're probably gonna get that hopefully next year, because it's gonna be the 30th anniversary of Pokemon. So I'm hoping next year we get like all the games on NSO or whatever the new one's gonna be called. That'd be really sick. But either way, cool announcement.
Yeah,
but the big one.
Go ahead. It's also coming to Android. That's my bad.
Oh,
and
Android.
Anyways.
There you go. So yeah, all mobile devices. So yeah, if you want to play your Pokemon on like online on your mobile devices, you could go ahead and do that. And next is Pokemon ZA. So we finally saw a good portion of Pokemon Legends ZA, and I personally thought it looks really good. I was actually kind of shocked that people were like really negative about it online, because I was like my first impressions of watching it, and I watched it a few more times afterward just to see what people were talking about. But I'm like, honestly, I thought it looked really good. Like I'm not like, I'm always down to shit on Pokemon, even though I love Pokemon. Like I'm down to like shit on it whenever they like show a really shitty trailer. Like I love Arceus. Arceus is like probably one of my favorite Pokemon games now. But that game looked like dog shit in the trailers. I mean, it still looks like dog shit, but like in the trailers it looked really bad. Same thing with Scarlet and Violet, which I also like Scarlet and Violet, but the game looks like shit, right? This game I'm like, oh, it actually looks good. Like I thought the frame rates look fine. Yeah, some of the textures look a little ugly, but it's a Switch game, so it's whatever. But I thought like the presentation all around looked pretty good. Like I thought the trainers looked neat. Like the how the Pokemon looked pretty good. How they interacted with the environment. Like I'm like, yeah, this looks like a pretty nice game. And it did a lot of other stuff. The other controversial thing is the starters. It's Totodile and
fuck Cyndaquil. No one likes Cyndaquil.
So Cyndaquil got like Thanos snap because it's Totodile, Chikorita, and Tedpig. So obviously Tedpig is from Gen 5 and the other two are from Gen 2. I don't really mind this. Like Cyndaquil makes sense. It's not in this one because it was a starter in Legends of Arceus, which is why Cyndaquil was in here. But it's weird they went for two Gen 2 Pokemon and then the odd one out. I would have preferred it if it was like maybe Snivy or something, or I don't know, someone else from another generation, right? Like I think that's what made the starter selection in Legends Arceus so unique, was because it's like, oh, 3 starters from 3 different generations. That's pretty neat, right? So and this one's kind of like, oh, you got 2 Johto Pokemon and then the 1 Unova. It just feels a little weird. But either way, I know people are shitting on it because like these are kind of like the bottom of the litter starter. I mean, I love Totodile, but Chikorita, Chikorita is kind of like a shitter. Like I won't lie, like I like Chikorita, but like Chikorita is just kind of bad in terms of stats, and no one likes Tepig that much. Everyone picked Oshawott during Gen 5.
Well, except for that one girl I saw on Twitter. But anyways,
I don't really like Tepig that much, and I'm sure they're either gonna get regional evolutions like they did in Arceus, or they're gonna get new Mega evolutions. I'm a nerd, so I saw in the trailer Chikorita has a fairy move, so it wouldn't surprise me if they make like its final evolution like a fairy type now or something. So that'll be a good buff for it. But either way, I don't mind the starter selection. I like Totodile, and if they don't get like new evolutions or whatever, I probably would just pick Totodile because it's a cool Pokemon. But besides that, I think the rest of the game looks really neat. Obviously, Megas are returning, and sort of like the whole gameplay shift is it has real time combat now. So instead of just being strictly turn based, your trainer can move with your Pokemon, and you could dodge moves just like the anime. You could be like, oh, dodge the fucking fire, you just kind of run away, and then you can use moves. It looks a lot like Xenoblade actually, just like how when you use a move, it actually recharges back up just like Xenoblade does, and you kind of like move around and shit. So the combat system looks like it's going to get a big shake up, which is pretty neat to see. Honestly, the only thing I'm not really convinced about is, and the thing I really liked about Arceus was the fact that it took place in the past, and it was very different from regular Pokemon. Like, there wasn't that many trainer battles. It was mostly focused on capturing Pokemon. The Pokemon would like just straight up just attack you and shit. Like, I thought that shit was really unique and cool. And this game still has basically the same sort of gameplay formula, where it is more like action based. You could move around. It looks like you are going to be focusing on capturing Pokemon, since it has the same thing. We could like throw the Pokeball like just at random Pokemon or whatever. But I just don't like the fact that it's like more set in modern times, because it just doesn't feel as different from Arceus, right? Like, it just feels like I'm playing a Pokemon game with like different gameplay, which is fine. But I feel like just having it like, yeah, it's like near futuristic, but I really would have liked it if it went full either futuristic or full in the past. I feel like this middle ground, it just feels like I'm playing Pokemon, right? So I feel like that kind of uniqueness is lost, and I don't really know what the Legend series is supposed to be. Like, I thought it was going to be everything was going to be set in the past, but I guess not, because this one's set in modern times. Like, that's the only thing I'm a little concerned about. Same thing with the whole game taking place in Lumino City. Like, that also feels kind of weird. Because yeah, they have like the little pockets of like wild Pokemon, I guess, but I feel like exploring the wilderness in Arceus was like a bit more engaging. But I don't know, I'm gonna have to see when I actually play the game, because it looks like you could like parkour around the rooftops and shit. That looks pretty neat. But yeah, overall, I'm like pretty impressed from what I saw. Like, I think out of all the Switch Pokemon games, this looks the most graphically impressive and the most like not frame rate issues I've seen, which I know is not saying a lot. And I'm not saying it's the best looking Switch game ever. I'm just saying like I don't really get the complaints on its presentation this time. Like, and again, I'm all for shitting on it. I thought Arceus was like ass when it was first announced, but this game, I'm like, it looks good. Like, I really have no complaints about it. It looks good, and it seems like Game Freak is really taking their time, because it didn't even have a release date. It just says, oh, it's coming out at the end of this year. So it seems like Game Freak is really taking their time. It looks like they really took a lot of the criticisms to heart. They're having like a full, I think like 4-year dev cycle for this fucking game, because I think it was already in development for like 2 years or whatever before they announced it. So it seems like they're really taking their time with this game, which is great. I'm really happy we didn't see a Gen 5 remake announcement. I'm really happy we didn't see a Gen 10 announcement. It seems like they really want to focus on just making this game as good as it could be, and then releasing it hopefully to little to no bugs, and having the game perform okay, right? That's my only hope for this game. But yeah, besides that, I think it looks pretty good. I'm excited for it. So yeah.
Okay, so as someone who is outside of the Pokemon realm, and someone who has not been following the series for a bit, I've seen Pokemon fans complain about other shit for like years and years and years, and then still go out and fucking get 2 copies of the same fucking game. So, with Legends EA, I'm very impressed that the game is running at a stable frame rate, that it actually looks graphically impressive for the Switch. And I also like the fact that they are changing up the gameplay enough where it's like, oh, okay, now it's not just like the turn-based stuff, right? Because obviously, that's been done to death for the Pokemon series for a while. So now it's like actual like real-time combat, and you can move with your Pokemon, the moves recharge, all of this other stuff. So yeah, it seems like that they are doing a whole lot with this game, and I'm glad that they're taking their time with it. With the whole starters controversy, I do find it very funny that they did just pick Chikorita, Totodile, then they're like, all right, we can't have Cyndaquil again. We'll just fucking throw Tepig in there.
Yeah, it's really
I can't believe they couldn't pick another Pokemon from another gen for the water or grass type, but I guess they have a bigger plan for these starters that will lead into the end game or whatever. Whatever sort of new form that they have at the end, they probably made something up, and that's why they chose with these starters. There's obviously a purpose to it, right? It can't just be because they like those Pokemon. So I'm excited for it. Will I pick it up at launch? I don't know. Maybe we'll see. It is definitely going to come out probably later this year during the fall, and we'll see if the money's right then. So
yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting since this game is a Switch 1 game. It's probably going to come out when the Switch 2 is already a thing. So I do wonder if it is going to get like a performance boost due to the Switch 2 running it. I highly doubt it, but it would be pretty neat if it does get some enhancements for the Switch 2. But Again, I doubt that they're gonna do that, but we'll see. Because them saying late this year really makes me like, oh, so it's gonna come out basically when the Switch 2 comes out, probably. So they probably also want to cash in on that Switch 2 money. They're like, oh, kids, buy this. So yeah, but yeah, overall, I thought it was okay presentation. I think ZA looks pretty good. I have pretty high hopes, and yeah, overall, pretty excited for it.
All right, so let's get into the last part of the show. Better late than never. We're going to talk about Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man episodes 9 and 10, the finale, and just talk about anything and everything related to this show and just give our full series review. But before we get into spoilers, I mean, just go watch it. I think it is very, very good, even though certain things at the end here I don't necessarily agree with. I think that this is one of the best Spider-Man cartoons we've gotten in a while. It's definitely very hard to beat Spectacular. I did say last time, I was like, it might beat Spectacular. I don't fucking know. But now that we've seen these last two episodes and sort of how this world of Peter Parker and Spider-Man came to be, it's like, okay, I like it. It's still very, very good. I just don't like certain things that we'll talk about more in depth in a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, I think the show was like very good and like basically like, exceeded all my expectations about the show, which like basically zero. Like I had like no expectations for this show, and I thought the finale was like a lot of fun as well. Like I think they're setting up a ton of stuff, and they clearly have a really big vision for this series and where they want to take it. And I personally just like most of the things they've done. Even one of the things that are like like are like kind of insane, like what they do in like in the final episode, like how certain stuff happens. But besides that, I'm like, yeah, this show was very good, and I'm very happy we finally got a good Spider-Man show after so many years of having nothing but like trash. I'm gonna be honest, since Spectacular Spider-Man. So it's really nice to have something that feels like they really cared about it, right? Like honestly, again, still mostly just the animation that's a little iffy, but besides that, it's a really good show, man.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into sort of spoiler territory. Just talk about it as a whole. So yeah, I mean, these last two episodes are great. I love the fact that the first time we see the classic suit, he's saving Nico. I love that. I fucking love that because obviously you kind of see it coming leading up to it. But when it happened, I was honestly getting kind of emotional seeing that suit. I was like, fuck, man. Like that is so clean. It's so nice to see sort of that moment happen finally. And then obviously with the whole fight between the 110th Street gang and sort of how that Tombstone stuff actually comes to be was also pretty cool. I think some people might have an issue with Peter instantly teaming up with Lonnie instantly and sort of how Lonnie was able to learn what his powers were kind of thing. I don't know. It does seem like that there were certain things a little bit rushed here. But, overall, I think that the fight sequences and sort of like the animation and all that stuff have finally come full circle for the show, because I think the first couple of episodes were a little rough animation wise, but I think now that we've seen like the action, sort of what the show can bring us, it's honestly been pretty good.
Yeah, it was a great fight scene between Lonnie, Spider-Man, and Scorpion. Like it was just a good like double team up against him. And yeah, I guess you can see what how it's like, oh, he just kind of figured out his powers pretty quickly and stuff, and him teaming up with Lonnie. But I think that's just more like just Peter being excited to just see Lonnie and just be like, all right, I'm gonna help you out, bro. So like he wasn't really too concerned about try to be like, oh, I don't care if you know who I am. I'm just gonna like help you out because I don't want you to like fucking die or whatever. So I thought that part was fine. And I really enjoyed the part where like Peter was about fucking kill Scorpion.
Oh yeah, kill him.
I think because the Spider-Man hasn't really he's getting like influenced by Norman Osborn with like his great power comes great respect, and like you have to do everything you can to like get that power. So like and Norman was just like, oh, like you gotta show them how strong you are, right? So that means I'm gonna fucking kill this dude. So and obviously Lonnie was the one to be like, hey, don't do that. Like you don't want to go down that route, man. So I thought that was like a good sort of like thing that like made him snap out of it to like not fucking kill Scorpion right there, because Spider-Man really pulls back his punches a lot of the time. Like he is very strong for like being like just like a teen, right? So he could like annihilate a lot of these villains if he really tried to not hold back. So seeing him go like a little more feral there was like pretty neat to see, right? So
yeah, I definitely like that the show isn't afraid to sort of pull certain things from the MCU projects and whatnot. Me personally, I wish that moment was a little bit more just Peter and not Lonnie coming to sort of help him out and save him again.
Yeah.
Like I get it. I get what they were going for within that moment, but me personally, I didn't like it. But it's not like a huge detriment to the show in it of itself. But let's just talk about Norman. Norman's a petty ass motherfucker. The goddamn episode opens him with him pretty much gloating to Octavius, like, I got all your fucking tech now, so you pretty much work for me, except you did it. You were just doing your own research, but now I worked with sort of the government, and now I have all your technology. And we see him sort of being mischievous and sort of what he's doing with the Octavius tech and everything like that. And obviously his true colors are shown within the final episode where it's like, these are what your intern projects were for, fucking space travel or whatever. And they were like, I didn't agree with that. So, I just love that Norman is finally coming out of his shell, and this isn't something that is being hidden for a long time, right? Because obviously longtime fans know that Norman Osborn is a bad guy. So, I'm glad that by the end of this season, we finally see that, yeah, he is still the manipulating, lying, sort of guy that he is.
Yeah, and I think they play that well into the series as well. Like, just like slowly, like obviously you already know what's coming. Like, not to trust him if you're a longtime Spider-Man fan. But even if you weren't, like, you could really just get like, he has other motives. I mean, Daredevil says it like in like episode like 4 or whatever. Like, hey, bro, like don't trust this dude. So, like, yeah, like we got that picture. But I do like that they are making him, he was planting these ideas in Peter's head to be like, be his little like soldier basically and stuff like throughout the whole series, and like start him like corrupting, because Peter's a young guy and he doesn't have like a dad or a father, so he's like he could use that to his advantage. And I don't think he was necessarily just like manipulating Peter the whole time. Like, I'm sure he does care for him in some weird way, but he obviously wants something from him, obviously. Like, he wants the spider blood, he just wants it for him. But I'm sure he does like respect Peter like he does in like the other like Spider-Man medias too. Like, it's not like it's like a full like one-way street. It's just, I'm evil, I'm gonna manipulate you, right? So but I think they play well into this series as well. And him like goading on like Octavius too is always fun. So it does have really good chemistry in the show, and I really like it.
But yeah, I mean, just the finale, just having that all come back to the first episode. When I was watching it, I was like, oh, okay, wait, why doesn't Doctor Strange know exactly what Peter and Norman are talking about?
Yeah.
And then it comes back to, oh, like he traveled, like this moment is the moment that bit Peter because he traveled back to the past to try to stop that symbiote creature and everything like that. So, like when like I was putting it together when I was watching the recap, and it was recapping like everything from the beginning, and I was like, why are we seeing this? And then once it was happening, I was like, oh, okay, so this is what we're doing. So this has caused some controversy within the Spider-Man community because it sort of makes this version of Peter Parker sort of destined to be Spider-Man, which people do not like at all, and sort of removes that sort of everyman kind of thing from the character, where it's like anyone could be Spider-Man kind of thing.
Yeah.
But also I just don't like this sort of bootstrap paradox that they put themselves in, where it's like, okay, now it's just like on a loop. Like this moment is going to happen for this version of Peter Parker for like ever now, where it's like his blood is the same blood within that spider that bit him from the beginning that turned him into Spider-Man. And I'm like, how does that fucking make sense? Like, how does that make sense in a sense that like, where was a version of Peter that like this didn't happen, right?
Right.
Like when did this loop start to happen? Or was this always going to be this version of Peter? Because like it just gets confusing. And like I get it, like after his talk with Strange, you see the Watcher standing there and sort of being like, oh, okay, like this universe is fine kind of thing. Like he doesn't have to like tamper with it or mess with it or whatever. But I just don't like how they did the origin story, where it's like this bootstrap paradox, where it's like, okay, yeah, like Norman took Peter's blood and he's actually the one that actually gave him his powers, etc. Because it just adds these unnecessary layers that I just don't like. But I guess we'll talk about it later with Gwen Stacy, sort of like potentially being another Spider-Man person or whatever, and that might be why they had to implant that to sort of get these other Spider people in, etc., etc. But what do you think about it, Damian?
Yeah, it was like I give it that it was very unique. Like I don't think I've ever seen that version of him gain his spider before. But well, I guess it's kind of similar to like I guess like Spider-Verse's thing, where like that spider wasn't from his universe; it was like another spider or whatever. But with Spider-Verse, they play it into it very well, because then they play into that universe as Miles never got his powers and everything went to shit. Well, this one is kind of like, that more Destiny thing where he was always meant to be Spider-Man, and that does kind of take away from like the whole like, everyone could be Spider-Man type beat or whatever. But I could also see it as being like maybe like Peter always had a resolve to like be a hero, and maybe this was like this weird convoluted way like Norman like kind of made his own villain in a way by making Peter in the first place. Yeah, it does get very confusing and weird. Like again, I give it to them for being a very unique way for him to get his spider, but it is a very convoluted way to do it. I don't hate it, I don't think, but it is kind of insane. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I have a really strong opinion unless they're gonna do more with it later, which I doubt it. Like I bet like this is just a fun way to
look. You know, I trust Jeff. I trust Jeff Trammell and like everything that he does, just because the show was so good. Yeah. So I just have to wonder how is this going to lead into the other seasons going forward. And I'm sure it will. It's just that right now I do not like this decision whatsoever, which I think is fine.
Yeah, it is definitely a really weird thing. Like I'm gonna have to wait and see how it kind of like develops for the next seasons. Like because obviously we're gonna get more spider people now. So I don't know if it's gonna be like maybe because it's like Peter's blood, maybe like Spider-Gwen can't be full Spider-Man or something, or I don't know. But even then, I don't know. Like it's weird and it is a bit convoluted, and like I don't know if I personally like it as much either. But I guess we'll see what they're cooking with the next season, since again Spider people are gonna start showing up now. So yeah, I guess we'll see how that works within the confines of this show's like continuity or whatever.
But yeah, I mean, overall, I think the 10th episode did a great job sort of wrapping everything up, but also alluding to some other things, such as, I guess I'll just fucking name off the big one. Fucking Richard Parker is alive. I mean, Josh Keaton was teasing that he was in the show, and a lot of people were like, is he Uncle Ben? Is there going to be like a fucking Uncle Ben flashback? But no, it's just, he's fucking Richard Parker. He's fucking Peter's dad, and Peter's dad is in jail for whatever reason. So I wonder how that's going to play out. Obviously Peter doesn't know that his dad's alive, and I wonder how that's going to fall out between him and May potentially. You know, there's a lot of different angles that they could take this approach with sort of Peter's parents, and you know, I'm excited to see how it goes, because like I said, I trust Jeff Trammell. He knows what he's doing. I'm gonna let him cook. And I think that this is one aspect that I am actually excited to see.
Yeah, I'm wondering where to go with it, because you know, with like the Amazing Spider-Man 2, when they like fucking like secret agents or some shit. I don't remember what they were.
There was a lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah, and I forgot. Like I think in Ultimate Spider-Man, they were also like doing stuff with his parents. I forgot they were like researching something. I forget. But either way, like you know, there's not like I think they could do some cool things with like Peter's dad being there and like you know, being in prison and stuff, right? Like I don't know what for, but like it's gonna be interesting to see what they do with that plot line going forward. And sort of like the last like half of this episode is just like all like shit happening. Like say I was like you know, like Norman, like when they close the portal for the symbiote, because this always has to happen, a piece of it does escape, and then Norman founds the symbiote. So obviously we're gonna get like symbiote shenanigans, black suit stuff at some point. You know, I think that, you know, as soon as people saw the symbiote thing, like that was pretty obvious that was gonna happen. But it's cool to see like that little bit of it, you know, come off, and Norman could use it for all of his experiments. I mean, I don't know how much I am of like Norman doing like like right now he has like the symbiote, he has other spider people, he has the lizard stuff. Like yeah, he's gonna make a lot of supervillains at the moment. So we're gonna see how this turns out. But you know, obviously he's gonna do Green Goblin shenanigans too, because we already saw the glider. So you know, I'm wondering how many stuff are really gonna come from Norman and Oscorp in general in this series. But it's neat to see the symbiote get introduced like early on, and they're probably gonna do stuff with it. I don't know if they're gonna do it in season 2, but it's definitely gonna be a thing soon. So
yeah, you know, it is very insane to see how much of a super villain Norman Osborn is within this series, because he's literally pulling the strings between everything, almost everything, I would say. You know, obviously Scorpion was out of his control and sort of like the first big bad guy that Peter faced, but you know, it is going to be very cool to see how it moves forward with Norman in this world, and sort of all of his power that he has now collected and amassed over this season. So I guess we can't really skip out on Lonnie before we get ahead of ourselves. You know, Lonnie, we talked about it last time. He is one of the most insane adaptations for the character yet, making him in high school the same age or around the same age as Peter, and sort of turning him into this character that is a parallel to Peter, and sort of him dealing with the 110th Street gang stuff, and sort of his his view on like his responsibility, but also him trying to break away from like his destiny and sort of what people are saying about him being like the superstar quarterback and all that stuff. So, you know, I love Lonnie in the show, and I'm glad to see his character be adapted so well, you know. And I think the way that he got his powers was fair, you know, him trying to obviously help the gang out after fucking Don just dipped out.
I gotta get out of here. Just fucking
yes, as soon as he was like, oh shit, I could die doing this stuff. I'm gonna leave. So, you know, it looks like Lonnie's gonna be the new leader for that gang, and sort of how that becomes a conflict within Spider-Man's life, and sort of how Peter will deal with that, knowing that Lonnie is going to be the one pulling the strings, right? So that's going to be making for a lot of interesting conflicts in the upcoming season.
Yeah, it's also interesting to see him like kind of like reject his way of life, because, you know, he threw his like jacket in the trash, and, you know, he got the call from Harry for the web thing that he's making, but I'm sure he's not going to go into that bullshit. So so yeah, you know, he's going fully for the gang now, and he's going to, like, you know, fully become Tombstone probably in the next few seasons. And, you know, it's going to be a great, you know, scenes between him and Peter whenever they have to sort of like come into conflicts with each other, because, you know, they did a great job just building up his character in this season. So I'm really excited to see how they sort of like, you know, resolve that in the future seasons or whatever. So yeah, they definitely did a great job with Lonnie in this show. Like, I feel like he got a lot of great spotlights throughout the, you know, he plays like the second main character basically going through all this shit. So I think they really nailed it. You know, same thing, you know, we got like more post-credit stuff, you know, with Nico. She could do her magic shit. I think she's based off some other hero or villain. I don't remember.
Yeah, I think she was in The Runaways. That was like a Marvel MCU show thing. I have no idea who Nico is, like, actually, like, as a superhero kind of thing. But it looks like they're adapting some of that into this, so I wonder how that's going to play out.
Yeah, so she has magical powers, so we're going to see more about that too. So, you know, like, I know some people are going to be a little upset with, you know, there's a lot of things going on, and like Peter is not going to just be like a solo man in this, you know. Like, I know some people still want him to be, but there's going to be a lot of shenanigans going on, like, with other heroes and stuff. So, I mean, I don't mind it, because I think this show kind of builds into it pretty well. You know, because, you know, people get really mad with the Iron Man Jr. thing or whatever. But, you know, I think in this show, they're doing a pretty good job with, like, I think he earned everything he's done in the show so far. Like, you know, I think he's even earned his classic suit and stuff. So I don't really mind it. And it's going to be cool to see the supporting characters be able to do stuff, I guess. Like, I don't mind it when the supporting characters are just, like, helping him out as a friend. Like, that's also compelling enough as is. But, you know, seeing them, you know, be, like, superheroes or whatever, I think that could be interesting as well. So.
Yeah, which is why, you know, the final swing in this finale is so satisfying to see, because he's like, you know, also on top of that with this conversation with Doctor Strange, it was so refreshing to see that scene, because, you know, Peter is still trying to play off his secret identity and stuff like that, because, you know, as soon as within Avengers Infinity War, he just said, yeah, I'm Peter or whatever. So, you know, it was nice to see, you know, him actually trying to have that talk with Strange, and sort of, you know, obviously he's a kid. He's like, how am I doing? You know, like, what am I going to do within the future? And he's like, you seem to be doing fine. And I couldn't tell you anyway. So I was like, okay, great. Like, I love that talk. And like I said, the final swing, worth it. It was peak, because he actually earned it throughout the season. Like, you see him go from, you know, his homemade suit to working with Norman to now going solo. You know, he has now become Spider-Man. And I think that now that we're moving into season 2, even though the MCU stuff is still going to be happening in the background, like the Sokovia Accords and all of that other stuff, it's going to be exciting to see how this Peter Parker and how this Spider-Man and how his world of characters take all that stuff, right? So it's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah.
And yeah, I guess the Daredevil stuff as well, you know, like the one intern was like a little sidekick for Daredevil. So that was cool to see, you know.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're doing that too, because I'm like, I hope Daredevil himself shows up more, but I'm sure like he's not super cheap to get to voice him all the time, and like I'm sure he's gonna have conflicts, so I'm like, hey, you could be my stand-in for a little bit to like do the Daredevil stuff and decide. So I love that, like, he's not like going away. Like, I love that shit, like, because it wouldn't make sense, because they're like investigating Norman, so it wouldn't make sense for them to just like leave the story, right? So I'm happy Daredevil and you know, the intern here, like, you know, still doing shit. So
yeah, it was very interesting, because, you know, we see Jean go up to that restricted level, and Peter's like, Gene, not supposed to be here.
Yeah,
What are you doing
later.
here? And then she's like, oh, really? Oh, my bad. I was looking for the bathroom or some
Yeah,
shit,
so
whatever she said.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. Like, that was like a very weird scene, but now it ties back into the finale. Like I said, everything happens for a fucking reason, and I love it. So, yeah, I mean, Daredevil having like a sidekick character in Jean, aka Finesse. Finesse is not a Daredevil character whatsoever. She is Taskmaster's daughter or some shit.
Right.
As like as soon as I looked it up, I was like, who the fuck is this character? Because obviously I read like a decent amount of like modern Daredevil comics. So I was like, who is this? So yeah, I mean, I think that could be a lot of fun, especially distinguishing it from like distinguishing it from the TVMA Daredevil, just having like this sort of sidekick role for her to be in that sort of space. Daredevil did have a sidekick within the Charles Soule run, which was Blind Spot. So it seems like she might be doing something along those lines, just taking on the sort of Taskmaster name or whatever, the sort of finesse character, if you will. But yeah, I'm excited. I did not expect Daredevil to be in the finale, and obviously, as a massive fucking fanboy, I was like, yes, he's in it. Let's go. So, yeah. Is there anything else you want to add before we get into, I guess, the little bit of news regarding the show?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, so yeah, Gwen Stacy, Spider-Gwen, confirmed for season 2. Jeff Trammell tweeted the sort of character art for these characters out. And obviously everyone fucking had a opinion on it, because it was like, are we ever going to get a normal Spider-Man show without multiple Spider-Man people coming in? So yeah, I mean, my first reaction to Gwen Stacy coming in, I was like, oh, okay, like that's cool. I think them introducing Gwen Stacy at a different point and her being like another student at his high school could be fun, but obviously it's fucking Gwen Stacy. So she's also Spider-Gwen. Yeah. People have theories about who she is. It could be like another protege that Norman brings under, and maybe she got bit by the spider, whether by accident or on purpose, whatever the case is. But
yeah, I was gonna say, I think it's basically what you just said. I think she's gonna be hired by Norman to be a new spider person, because it looks like she has like pumpkin bombs or something. Like
yes,
yeah. So like I think she's gonna be like fully Osborn controlled Spider-Man after Peter kind of like leaves. So like I think that's probably what's going to end up happening. So she might be like an antagonist this season, and we're gonna see how that plays into it. Because yeah, it looks like she has like Osborn tech and like pumpkin bombs and shit. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it seemed, like I said, trust Jeff Trammell. He knows what he's doing. Let him cook. But yeah, I'm a little hesitant, but I am still excited to see how he's gonna pull this story off. I will never forget this one tweet that I saw where it was like, yeah, like Spider-Gwen was so cool within like 2018, but now you ask Spider-Man fans now in 2025, they're like, please stop bringing Gwen Stacy, stop with the Spider-Gwen bullshit. Because I get it, like she's like in everything, and everywhere, so just like ease up on it a little bit. But I understand why they're bringing in this character, because she is pretty cool. She is one of the more popular spider people, but I wonder how it's going to twist and turn within this version of Spider-Man.
Yeah, like I'm sure they're gonna subvert expectations. Like I honestly don't even know if she's gonna be like a full spider person in this. Like I don't know if again, it could play into the spider really only working for Peter or whatever, and like maybe when she gets bit, it doesn't really work. So like she just has a lot of tech instead, or something. Like I don't know. Like I'm sure they're gonna subvert expectations, or they could just play it straight and like she just becomes a spider person like later, which I wouldn't really like mind that much. But I feel like they're gonna do something different, and like them showing Spider-Gwen this early on like makes me feel like, yeah, we're gonna do something different with this character. And I feel like people are having like big knee-jerk reactions to it, and I mean I feel like the show, I've had so many knee-jerk reactions to the show as well. So at this point, I'm just going to let them cook, right? I'm just going to be like, okay, I'm just going to see what they do. Because I've been so wrong about the show in so many levels. So I'm just like, if they could do this like whole plot line well, then like that's, I believe in them at this point. So yeah.
Yeah, just let them cook. Let's see how it goes. And obviously, season 2 is expected to premiere next year. So, it is just like with the other Marvel television stuff, they're going to try to continue the sort of yearly format, which is exciting, insane, if at that, just because with the whole format of just like entertainment and television in general, it takes like multiple years for seasons to get produced. And especially with this first one, it was announced in like 2020, 2021 as like Spider-Man freshman year. It was going to be like a sort of what if to like MCU Peter Parker. Then they were like, well, we want to do a lot of different things with it. And if we want it to last multiple seasons, we have to divert from what the MCU already did. So they just, just made it its own story, and I love it, and I'm glad that they are continuing it, and I hope that the show runs for as long as it can, because obviously we had the Spectacular Spider-Man, which was very, very good, a very good adaptation for that character, and probably still one of the best adaptations for Spider-Man. But it got cut early because of the whole Marvel Disney deal. So hopefully Jeff Trammell is able to bring that spirit into the show, which he already has, and I think that he could do it for a couple more seasons or for however long he wants to keep doing this.
Yep. So I guess we'll see how long the show's gonna last, but right now it looks like it has a really bright future, a lot of plot lines that got set up. So I'm ready for it. Whenever next season comes out, I will be there.
And yeah, I think that's it. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Damian?
Nope, that's about everything.
All right, so thank you guys for listening to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 158. You can listen to us 2 weeks from now with another episode.
See ya.